Okay, my dudes, this is going to be a very exciting live stream. I know every live stream that we do is a very exciting one, and we are going to get some high stakes fantasy football drafts going. Of course, the first draft we're going to do, it's going to be like all of them. We're just going to get a $10 warm-up draft going. Then we'll have the high stakes drafts later on. So if you really want to see that high stakes draft, I mean, if you're watching this as a video, of course you can go through and you can skip past the $10 draft, but the $10 draft will have just as much information and probably honestly some better drafters, because we're going to send that link out over there on Patreon to fill this draft. Y'all know how we do this every single night. And guys, we are about to hit 34,000 subscribers. Thank you so much. We literally just hit 30,000. It's just skyrocketing as we get closer to the season. And if for whatever reason you have not subscribed to this channel yet, make sure you go down there, subscribe. We're going to be doing videos every single day. Waiver wire, start sit, weekly rankings. We're going to be doing streams almost every single night as well. So make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you hit the bell next to the subscribe button. That way you can make sure that you can actually come out to these live streams and you're not just watching them as a video later on. Let me pull up the live chat real quick and we'll send out this link on Patreon and get this filled right away. Okay, so we just sent that link out over there on Patreon, and y'all know that this draft is going to get filled literally probably in 30 seconds. And yeah, let me real quick go over and pull up the live chat, give everybody out a shout out who came out to the live stream at the very beginning. And my God, we have a lot of people out here. We got Jay, Henry, Luis, Connor, Bray, Jack, Jacob, Caesar, Jacob, Colin, Caden, Exploit, Ricky, Caesar, Piano, Andrew, Jack, Caden, Avery, Anthonyman, Bray, Driscoll, Saram, Christian. Thank you, everybody coming out. And we are going to get the 104 in this draft, okay? So y'all are probably going to see me do something at the 104 that you may not be used to. But, I mean, get used to it if you're going to be watching one of these drafts, because I think that if you just stick around at least to the 12th round, you're going to look back and probably go, okay, well, maybe Mason actually kind of knew what he was doing there. And I know a lot of people in this live chat already know exactly what's going to go down at the 104. And dear God, guys, thank you. We've literally been live for maybe 2 or 3 minutes, and we already have 50 likes in the live stream. That is ridiculous. Thank you, everybody, for coming out, dropping that like. And what I'm probably going to do tonight is we'll get one of those $250 drafts going, but I'm going to try to get as many $10 drafts going as possible. And we're just going to be banging those out as fast as possible, because I want all of y'all that have signed up for Underdog Fantasy to have a chance to get into a draft with me. So I ask y'all this about as nicely as I can, but all the regulars that come out to every single one of these drafts. Now, for the $250 drafts, if you want to come out to one of those later on the stream, I encourage you, please come out. But for the $10 links that we're going to send out later on the live stream, if you are a regular to this channel and you have gotten into just say, I don't know, 5+ live streams or 10+ live streams, can you please just let some new people get in? Of course, if you want to get in, that's your right. I'm sending that link out in the live chat. I'm just asking you, if you've gotten into 15 of these drafts yourself, I mean, maybe later on tonight when we're getting some more $10 drafts going, just let someone that's maybe new to the channel that recently used promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy hop into this. I don't know if we're going to get the $250 one going right after this, or we're going to get the $250 one going later in the live stream. Regardless, we're 100% going to get that going along with a lot of $10 drafts. So yeah, we're going to take Davonte Adams at the 104 here. And I understand a lot of people are probably not used to or not comfortable seeing a Davonte Adams at the 104. And I will say, at this point, you cannot take Davonte Adams over any of these running backs. I had my questions with an Alvin Kamara previously before they officially named Jameis Winston the starting quarterback for the Saints. But once they name Winston the starting quarterback for the Saints, then that giant red flag that we have at Taysom Hill gets a little smaller. And then at that point, you do have to take Alvin Kamara over Davonte Adams. And everybody in this live chat has already heard this a million times before, but just in case we have some people just wandering in and watching this as a video later on, I mean, the reason we're taking Davonte Adams here over Derrick Henry, who I know all of y'all are screaming, Mason, you need the running back. You need the running back. No, guys, I promise you we're going to be able to find running back value later in the draft that I feel comfortable with the Derrick Henry. I think that he really did hit his ceiling last year from a points per game perspective based off of the volume that he saw and how he is used in his offense. Unless his role completely changes, he doesn't have the same type of floor ceiling combination that a Davonte Adams possesses, where Adams was the best receiver of all time for fantasy football purposes. So we're going to take him at the 104. Now, Derrick Henry at the 108. This is good value on Derrick Henry. I mean, I think at the 108, Derrick Henry, if you want to take him there, I am perfectly fine with it. I would take Derrick Henry at the 108. My issue with Derrick Henry is when people are taking him at the 103, ahead of Alvin Kamara, ahead of Davonte Adams, ahead of Ezekiel Elliott. You need this trio of players over Derrick Henry, in my opinion. As long as Henry's making it past these guys, if you want to take Derrick Henry at the 106, I am completely fine with it. Okay, so we have Stephon Diggs falling to the 201. So eat my payday. Recently talking to him over there on Patreon. Literally, maybe we were just talking to him over there on Patreon like 20 minutes ago. I mean, he actually is playing in a league where if you lose the league, it does have to get a tattoo. So we got him out a podcast over there on Patreon, just trying to go through, break down his team, making sure that he is not going to walk away with the season with the tattoo. Now let's pull this back up. And now we are 100% going to get a running back here in the second rounds. Mainly, I mean, who do we get left between Anaji Harris and a Joe Mixon? So Cheeky Hobson taking it out to the very last second where he takes a Joe Mixon. So this goes back to what I was saying, where I'm comfortable with the running back value that we're going to get later on. So if we're looking at the running back versus receiver decision in the first and second round, I mean, getting a Davonte Adams and a Najee Harris combo, that's what I like a lot more than, say, if we would have drafted Ezekiel Elliott in the first round and we possibly got an A.J. Brown in the second. I actually do prefer the Davonte Adams and the Najee Harris side of it, but we have a Justin Jefferson going at the 210. And now we have the chat just flowing. So I'm going to have to change this chat right now to subscriber only, because there will be no way I can keep up with this through the live stream if it's not on subscriber only. So also, if you are out to this channel, I mean, if you are out to this live stream right now and you are not subscribed to the channel, I'd imagine literally every single person here is subscribed, but make sure you go down there, subscribe. Now we got George Kittle going. It does suck to see Kittle going. So now we're going to be in a spot where we know we're going to go with a receiver. I know a lot of people probably are screaming that they want us to take a Terry McLaurin. If you are a fan of this channel, you already know that I'm going to be preferring Allen Robinson over Terry McLaurin this season based on a couple things here. I mean, we have already seen the production with an Allen Robinson where he has produced top 10 receiver seasons before with Blake Bortles, with Mitchell Trubisky, with Nick Foles, and we haven't seen that same level of production from a Terry McLaurin. I believe Terry McLaurin's highest finish from a points per game perspective was actually wide receiver 20 last year. And Terry McLaurin isn't as young as you would expect. I mean, those other receivers like DK Metcalf and A.J. Brown, while they're only 23 years old, getting selected at 21 years old in the 2019 draft class, Terry McLaurin stayed 5 years at Ohio State. So he's actually 25. And I'm not saying Terry McLaurin is going to be all of a sudden a bum and he's too old to be good. No, of course, we're not saying that. He's literally 25 years old. What I'm saying is, I think that if you're going to be expecting like an A.J. Brown, you're going to be expecting any of those other 2019 receivers to continue to develop, you're probably going to expect the guys that are 22, 23 years old. Those are going to be the guys that keep on getting better. Whereas the players that are 25, 26, like a Terry McLaurin, a Deebo Samuel, I think from a talent perspective, they may have already actually gotten closer to their ceiling. And also, I'm more confident with the quarterback combination in Andy Dalton and Justin Fields compared to what you would actually have with Ryan Fitzmagic. So yeah, there are a multitude of reasons why I'm going with an Allen Robinson over McLaurin. You do see Terry McLaurin fall to the 308 here. Now keep in mind, guys, I mean, we are drafting right now on Underdog Fantasy, and everybody in this live chat already knows. And for the love of God, if you have not decided to do this to support the channel, I don't know what I can say. Please, please support the channel. This is the #1 way you can do it. We have live streamed every single day for about the past 5 weeks. And we're going to live stream damn near every single day throughout the entire season. Last year, I missed 2 days of live streaming. So please, if you appreciate the grind, if you want to support the channel, the #1 way you can do it is by going to the description of the video, joining Underdog Fantasy, which is where we've been live drafting every single night, getting these fantasy drafts in. And Underdog Fantasy, I mean, I love playing here. I draft here during the day, even when I'm not on the live stream. And when you deposit $10 on Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK, you get my rankings, you get my draft guide, you get my tiers, you get $25 added to the account, and you support the channel. And why I am pushing this so hard, guys, is Underdog said if we get 10,000 signups on Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK, 10,000. I know that sounds like a lot. Keep in mind, we have had about 130,000 views the past 48 hours. 130,000 views the past 48 hours. And we just need 10,000 signups on Underdog Fantasy this entire season. And if we get that, Underdog Fantasy is going to fly people down to the Florida Flock meetup. We're going to go to the Bucks game. Obviously, that's going to be done as a giveaway for the people who sign up on Underdog Fantasy. So please take advantage, guys. Trust me, I would love to go to a Bucks game. I'd love to meet as many of y'all as possible. I know not everybody's going to be able to go to that meetup, but I mean, if you want to get entered into a way to get just all expenses paid trip to come out here and go to that meetup, please make sure you're going down there and signing up for Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK. Now we're going to be back on the clock at the 409 in one pick. Okay, so Cheeky Hobson before us has Ezekiel Elliott, Joe Mixon, and Robert Woods. So I'd imagine that they're probably going to be coming away with the Brandon Ayuk here unless they want to start with 3 running backs. And honestly, yeah, I mean, that's what we see them doing, and I'm kind of fine with it. We're going to be taking a DeAndre Swift as our running back too. So far with this draft, we have actually came away with Davonte Adams, Allen Robinson at receiver, and then at running back, we've had Anaji Harris and DeAndre Swift. Okay, so we have a donation coming out from Armando, my man. Thank you so much. A long time supporter of the channel, was out here in a lot of those 2020 streams, and he said, hey Mason, was the number 7 pick for a 10-team PPR. Rate my squad: Herbert, Eckler, Barkley, A-Rob, Kupp, Kittle, Debo, Ayuk, Gaskin, Chase, and Shenault. Possible trades. I will say right now that in a 10-team league, we have to make some adjustments. We have to know in a 10-team format, it's going to be more important to get the elite level tight ends. It's going to be more important to get the running backs. Wide receivers going to be a little more depleted with way more options on the waiver wire. So you get Kittle, love to see it. You get Herbert, Eckler stacking in. You have the elite upside at running back with Saquon Barkley. From there at receiver, I'm honestly surprised to see the upside that you do have at the position. It would be nice to go through and try to package together some of those players to just get an upgrade in the starting lineup, understanding that you are already in a position where when we actually get week 1 underway, when we get week 2 underway, I promise you're going to have a lot of guys you want to pick up off the waiver wire. And right now the roster looks so strong at the bottom. I think that we would actually rather prefer to just go through and try to make some trades where we could maybe open up a roster spot for someone that we could potentially cut and pick up from the waiver wire. So if you could make a 2-for-1 trade, like possibly package together an Allen Robinson and a Latavius Shenault to go up to a receiver that we may like slightly more, like a DK Metcalf or DeAndre Hopkins, that would be very intriguing. But from here, we're going to be back on the clock. And now with the Irv Smith Jr. injury, I actually think that Adam Thielen is a lot more appealing than we initially gave him credit for. I think that Adam Thielen, while yes, we have to be slightly worried that we are going to see the regression in the red zone, I thought that we were going to see less targets per game from the red zone from Adam Thielen. Now at this point, I think that we actually do have to give him some credit in saying, well, I mean, who the hell are they going to go to with the ball in the red zone if it's not going to be Adam Thielen? They only have Justin Jefferson, Dalvin Cook there as really only options. I'm not going to be expecting them to go through and just significantly go in their direction with like a Tyler Conklin. Tyler Conklin's not going to be that involved. Okay, Chapman says, take our pick. Okay, so we are on the clock in our Patreon Dynasty Starter Draft. Let me pull that up real quick. Hopefully we have not been on the clock that long. I checked at about 3 p.m. and I saw that it was going extremely slow. So let me pull this up right now. And I'm not going to show this on the screen, guys. So if y'all want to see that Patreon Dynasty Startup, we actually did a live stream of that over there on the Dynasty Football Vlog channel. I'm not going to be showing Dynasty stuff on this channel, though. Okay, so now we have some more receivers going at the end of this round. We actually do have a Latavius Shenault before Jerry Jeudy. Now, it looks like my computer's being a little slow to load. Okay, there we go. We are up. How long have we been on the clock? Okay, we've been on the clock for about 2.5 hours. That's no bueno. We have the guy that we queued there. Anyway, we're going to be taking a player that I know a lot of people won't agree with. We'll take Jordan Love at the 13-10 just because it's a Superflex Dynasty League. So it kind of is what it is. Don't need to talk about that so much on this stream. Instead, let's go through and let's check out what we have actually had with this draft so far. So keep in mind, all of these people are a part of the Flock Patreon. So they all have my rankings. They all signed up for Underdog Fantasy. So they have that draft guide at the same time. I mean, sign up for Underdog Fantasy with promo code Flock and you have all that. So, I mean, we're going to see a lot of picks that we probably agree with. I mean, you actually see some of these players I don't necessarily like a Jerry Jeudy going a little bit lower here than where he goes in the majority of Underdog drafts. In the majority of Underdog drafts, you actually have him sliding up to be a late 4th round pick. You have the quarterbacks going a little earlier here with a Josh Allen and a Lamar Jackson. Very surprising to see Kyler Murray still falling. I mean, I think at this point, Kyler Murray is probably, I mean, am I missing something here? How is Kyler Murray still on the board? So Kyler Murray ends up going at the 604. Okay, so Scantron decided to take Mahomes on the same team that he ended up taking Travis Kelce, and that's why he decided to pass on the DeAndre Hopkins and Kyler Murray stack that he had the chance to in the 5th round. Very interesting. JN says, since 06, rookie quarterbacks have averaged 700-ish snaps. Lance. Okay, so my man, I don't necessarily know exactly what that is saying here. I will say, based on the research we have done, I am not one of the opinions saying, oh, Trey Lance isn't going to be starting until week 10. No, Trey Lance is going to be starting by week 4. Trey Lance is starting by week 4. I think the injury is going to throw some stuff off in his preparation for the season. So yeah, my man, I'm assuming that's a positive Trey Lance statement, and I'm right there for it. Now we have a Ja'Marr Chase continuing to fall at this point. And now at running back, I think we are kind of fine with where we're at when we do have a Najee Harris and a DeAndre Swift. I mean, we have Adams, Allen Robinson, and Adam Thielen all at receiver. But keep in mind, this is a league where you actually have to start 3 receivers and you have a flex. So you pretty much start 4 wide receivers every week, and it's best ball at the same time. So Devonta Smith, did something happen with Ja'Marr Chase that I'm missing with? Did something happen with Ja'Marr Chase that I'm missing with? Let's cue him real quick to make sure. Y'all know Ja'Marr Chase, I was screaming how overrated he was when he was going in the 4th round. But now I actually think that it would be kind of nice to just take the discount that we're getting from the preseason, because at this point, you don't have a massive opportunity cost. Yeah, so I don't see some news breaking story over here. Okay, yeah, I don't see some news breaking story. We're going to go with a Ja'Marr Chase as our wide receiver 4 at the 609. I was saying that he was getting drastically overrated when he was going in the 4th round. But if you're getting Ja'Marr Chase at the 609, you're getting him after receivers like Smith, Juju, Robbie Anderson, Corey Davis, Odell, Antonio Brown, Chase Claypool, Jerry Jeudy, Laviska Shenault, Adam Thielen. He used to literally, he used to not go before, he used to go before both Brandon Ayuk, Deontay Johnson, and T. Higgins. He used to be like before T. Higgins and Julio Jones. If we're getting him at this point at the 609, 1 pick before Tyler Boyd, I actually really like that selection. I think that's almost a no-brainer with a Ja'Marr Chase, to be honest. Okay, so now from here, Trey Sermon at the 612. And guys, don't be trying to tell me why Ja'Marr Chase is getting overrated in fantasy drafts. Don't try to tell me that Ja'Marr Chase is a bad pick here in the 6th round. I have been screaming on videos all offseason. JN knows. I mean, people that have been watching, Mr. Padilla knows at the same time. These guys that were watching our Dynasty channel, these guys that were watching every video every day during the offseason. I have gone through and I put out hours and hours and hours of information on why Ja'Marr Chase was such a bad draft pick here. But just because we see a few drops in the preseason, just because we have a few negative training camp reports, that doesn't necessarily mean we need to be drastically changing. And now we're going to be taking a player I don't necessarily like either, but a Mike Davis. I hate Mike Davis when he's going at the 4-5 turn in a regular league. But if we're going to get him as our running back 3 in the 7th round here at the 704, Mike Davis is probably going to be a no-brainer. Now, keep in mind, you're not going to see this happening in a significant amount of drafts, but this is a draft with people that, they watch the channel regularly. Everybody here is on Patreon. Everybody here has used promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy, so they have my rankings. So, you are going to see some players that I don't necessarily like that much, that usually I'm not drafting. They're going to be falling to me to a point where I have to go, okay, well, I guess we take him here. So that is going to be essentially why we're taking a Mike Davis at the 704. And I'll say, guys, okay, so Nathan Coe says, but doesn't the preseason drops kind of endanger Ja'Marr Chase? Please let me know if I'm wrong as you study college football more than me. I will say a big thing about the preseason is how I'm using the preseason is I'm more so using it for looking at the players of the back half of our roster. I'm looking at guys like Michael Carter. I'm looking at guys like a Ramondre Stevenson, those players, and we're trying to figure out exactly where they stack up on the running back depth charts for their NFL teams. However, what I really think people overrate with the preseason, because preseason is extremely valuable in that we get a tiny sneak peek into how teams are going to be running, some formations that they're going to be using, and possible depth charts to open the season. So there are a ton of things that actually make the preseason extremely valuable for fantasy football. However, one thing that doesn't make the preseason that valuable, and actually I think people overrate, is their ability to go through and watch a handful of drives from the studs that we know are going to be on the field every down regardless, and they're going to be trying to take away their impression of that player and if they're going to be good or not. I think instead of looking at the handful of drives that we actually have with players like a Ja'Marr Chase in particular, with players like, just say a T. Higgins, a Brandon Ayuk, Laviska Shenault, Jerry Jeudy, Chase Claypool, all these guys that we already had a great feel of who they were coming out of college, we don't necessarily need to be watching them in the preseason. While yes, it is slightly concerning, and I will agree with anyone that Ja'Marr Chase was overrated beforehand, Ja'Marr Chase was someone that had to go down rankings, but it's not necessarily for the right reasons, in my opinion. I think the reason that he needed to go down was because more people were just leaning in on that Justin Jefferson hype train that what we got his rookie season, and they weren't making a realistic expectation on what we would have from another rookie coming out of a very similar situation. I think that they were just looking at like an apple and an orange, and they were going, well, this apple and the orange, they were kind of on the same tree. They were right next to each other. They kind of have to be the same thing. That means Ja'Marr Chase is a good pick in the 4th round. Whereas no, Ja'Marr Chase was a fantastic prospect. He was actually a better prospect than Justin Jefferson, but we have to understand that, I mean, evaluating those prospects, it's not an exact science. There's a range of outcomes behind it. And just because Justin Jefferson hit his top end range of outcomes, that doesn't mean all of a sudden that Ja'Marr Chase is going to do that same thing. That doesn't mean all of a sudden we have to completely change the viewpoint on how we are looking at a Ja'Marr Chase. So Ja'Marr Chase was overrated, but I'm not sitting here and saying he was overrated because of the preseason. He was overrated for a multitude of different narratives that were circling around the fantasy football community. And I feel like y'all are trolling me at this point. Can someone please take Raheem Mostert? Like, am I really going to have to just be the drafter getting both Mike Davis and Raheem Mostert on the same team? I guess we kind of have to at this point. Y'all know that I'm going to be in probably like 250 real money drafts. His ADP is 75. We're getting him at 93. This is also a league that we're playing in right now that doesn't have the fantasy football playoffs, and instead just how many points you can put up the entire season. So I just feel like a fraud. I feel like an imposter. Now that we have everybody like kind of using our rankings against us, and all of a sudden I'm having to take the players that I don't necessarily like. But so far on this team, we do not have a quarterback. We do not have a tight end. However, we do have Davonte Adams, Allen Robinson, Adam Thielen, Ja'Marr Chase at receiver. We have Najee Harris, DeAndre Swift, Mike Davis, and Raheem Mostert at running back. Okay, so honestly, it's probably a pretty strong team. I mean, it's not something that you should expect in your regular league. I think that we honestly, I don't want to say get lucky with how things fall to us, but we get some crazy values that you never really see happening. I mean, Raheem Mostert, this is someone that always goes in the 7th round. Mike Davis always goes and really, I mean, in underdog, he goes at like the 5-6 turn. In your regular drafts, he goes at the 4-5 turn. So yeah, I mean, it's more so just the value that we get falling to us. At this point, I think that it would be smart for us to grab either a quarterback or a tight end. Now we have Elijah Moore going. We already have 4 receivers, and honestly, our 4 wide receivers are pretty solid. I think we can feel comfortable with them, so I don't necessarily need to go out and draft a Michael Thomas or Marvin Jones. Instead, I actually think that we're going to either get a quarterback or a tight end here, and understanding that we are going to see the tight end fall off happen a little earlier, and also we don't have any quarterback stacks here that would make a ton of sense. I am actually just going to grab a tight end in Tyler Higbee. We know with the Irv Smith injury, with the injury that we had previously to an Adam Chapman, I mean, it's going to be harder to find those tight ends. So let's get Higbee as our tight end 1 at the 904. Keep in mind, this is also a league where we do not have access to the waiver wire, so you have to be a little different in how you're constructing your roster. Whereas if we had access to the waiver wire, I may just continue to draft running backs here. I may not necessarily feel the need to go out there and get a tight end. But because we don't have access to the waiver wire, everybody in this league has to at least draft 2 tight ends. And you're going to see some other teams, maybe even ourselves, going to go through and draft 3 of them. So yeah, we have to change some things here. So we're going to get Higbee at the 904. Damon says, Sermon, Javonte Williams, Jalen Reagor, or Mecole Hardman in the flex spot, full PPR week 1. I will say that I'm really not going to be excited about many of those options. Now, surprisingly, Mecole Hardman and the Kansas City Chiefs, they're currently the 2nd highest team in terms of their Vegas implied team total for week 1. I was really surprised to see that against the Cleveland Browns. I figured it would be a matchup that they're not necessarily going to be having to air the ball out. I thought it would be more so the Cleveland Browns trying to play keep away. Now, I mean, with the Javonte Williams going up against the New York Jets, that's going to be a spot where, yeah, I mean, we kind of like Melvin Gordon, but Melvin Gordon's going to be the starter to open the year. Trey Sermon obviously has the fantastic matchup against the Detroit Lions. But I'm actually going to be saying, where we love drafting Trey Sermon in fantasy drafts. Trey Sermon's going to be the guy for the fantasy football playoffs. We know Raheem Mostert's going to be the lead running back to start the year, however. So that's going to make it where, like, if you have Mostert, of course I'm telling you to start him week 1. He's actually a must-start running back this upcoming week against the Lions. So this question here is pretty difficult. I will admit that. I would say that if we're going to full PPR, it's going to be coming down between Trey Sermon and Mecole Hardman for me. That is such a hard question, though. I'll say we're probably going to end up going Trey Sermon, just because I'm thinking that there's a 7.5 point spread on that game, if I'm remembering correctly. And if there's a 7.5 point spread on that game, I'm just going to be assuming that maybe they do use a committee running back. Maybe at the end of the game, if the game is just completely blown out, they're running it with Trey Sermon and trying to keep Raheem Mostert a little fresh. So we're going to go Sermon, but that's a very difficult question. And Brandon says, How did I do starting Kyler, Dalvin Cook, Javonte, AJ Brown, Amari Cooper, Darren Waller, Mike Evans? That's a fantastic team. Like, I kind of hate it when y'all send me teams like this because what the hell am I supposed to say? Obviously, that's a fantastic team, my man. I mean, I'm sitting here trying to come up with a way to make this team possibly a little better. If you could try to find a way to trading like AJ Brown and a bench player so we could get a stack in with DeAndre Hopkins, that'd be intriguing. But if that's like a 10-man league or a 12-man league, even, that would be just fantastic. Okay, Chapman yelling at us to make our pick in the Flock 21. My man, I already made that pick. I made that pick at the beginning of the live stream. Now we're going to be double tapping the tight end position. Yeah, so Tyler Higbee and Robert Tonyan, they do have 2 different bye weeks. We already have 4 running backs, 4 receivers, so I'm not necessarily squirming about finding another option there. So let's get our second tight end now that we are no longer going to having to be drafting these guys. We're only going to be quarterback, running back, receiver from here on out. If we draft another running back here, we will only be drafting 5 on this team, and then we can draft 3 quarterbacks and we can draft most likely 8 receivers at the same time. So yeah, that could be something that we're intrigued with. Let's just see the difference in value that we actually get from the quarterback position versus the running back position making it back to us, because at this point, we're not looking at a receiver. I'm not drafting Emmanuel Sanders. I'm not drafting Cole Beasley. I'm not drafting Gabriel Davis over any of these players. That's why we actually got those stud receivers at the top of the draft with Adams, A-Rob, Adam Thielen, and Jamar Chase. That way we'd have the luxury where we can draft a running back here. Chapman says, we are up again on the Flock 21 Patreon Dynasty League. Okay, so let me go through and I'll pull that up again. Thank you, my dude. Let me open up that Sleeper app and we'll look at the draft room. I already had a player in my queue. Okay, so we're actually going to get the second guy that we had in our queue in a Devin Singletary over there in the 1403. Let's make that pick. We can slow that down. Okay, so now here we got Tony Pollard, Cole Beasley. So honestly, I'm kind of fine seeing the receivers go off the board at the very top here. I think that if we get a running back that we like, making it back to us. So really, to be completely honest, the only quarterback I'd be that intrigued with would be a Joe Burrow. He would stack with a Jamar Chase, and we're doing so at a value. I mean, I guess we could also make the argument that Justin Fields is going to stack here with an Allen Robinson. In my opinion, it's just the most ridiculous thing ever, like literally one of the most ridiculous things that I've ever seen, to see Justin Fields going over Joe Burrow. However, now the question is, do we just take a 5th running back and then, you know what, we're not going to do that, because if we get Burrow here, we do have the flexibility where we may only have to draft one other quarterback on this team. Keep in mind, guys, I mean, in a regular league, if we draft Joe Burrow here, I'm not drafting a second quarterback at all, but this is going to be an 18-round draft where you do not have access to the waiver wire. It's a little bit different with what we are doing from a roster construction standpoint. So let's get Joe Burrow in the 11th round. This is going to be our draft right here at the 104. Let me go through and slow this down so anybody can pause it, take a screenshot, whatever you're wanting to see, and then we'll scroll down a little bit further. And yeah, I mean, we got some players that I don't necessarily love. I mean, a Mike Davis, a Raheem Mostert, Robert Tonyan. I don't necessarily love any of those guys. We just got them so far behind their ADP, and we got them at the right round for what we were looking for with the position that it honestly made sense for us to go in that direction. So let me know what you're thinking of that. I know that, I mean, Justin Fields is higher in ADP than Joe Burrow. I just can't get behind that. I mean, I think that's like one of the craziest things ever. Okay, so we have Uzi coming out and saying that we need to take a shot. We need to take a shot, my man. Wait one sec. Oh my God. Oh, I need a chaser for that water. Oh, that was tough. Okay, so now we get this little running back run happening. And honestly, I'm kind of fine with the running back run at this point, considering, I mean, we only have 4 receivers on this team. We are going to want to build around 8 receivers. And a big thing in these drafts are, I mean, wide receivers going to get soaked up very, very soon. So we have a massive running back run happening here in the 11th round. I mean, even guys like Leonard Fournette and Nyheim Hines going at the end of the round, you usually see these players go significantly after the James Conner, Jamal Williams, Kenyon Drake, Ramondre Stevenson tier. So it is interesting to see them get pushed up. We also like to see the tight ends go off the board. Just to be completely honest, we have 2 tight ends on this team already. I mean, we're done drafting tight ends based on the investment that we put into those guys. And now we have a Damon coming out with a donation. Thank you, my man. Says 12-team PPR, 3 receivers, a flex, 2 running backs, Lamar, CMC, Miles Sanders, DK Metcalf, Hollywood Brown, Waller, Hardman, Javonte, Sermon, Rager. Any moves to make? I will say, man, here where you're actually having the ability to play 4 receivers every week, this is kind of like the underdog format, where I think you actually do want to prefer to go out there and grab some more of those receivers. So if you could decide to trade away like a Miles Sanders and you could get some receiver value in return, like if you could trade away a Miles Sanders and get someone back like an Allen Robinson, a Keenan Allen, really any wide receivers in that range, I think it would be very intriguing just from an overall roster construction standpoint. You'd be able to have a locked-in starter for you guaranteed. And then by the time you get to the playoffs, who knows? Javonte Williams may be that running back too for you. I mean, Javonte Williams, I think is going to be a smash in the playoffs. Tyrell Williams, definitely a nice pick now that we do have Brashad Perriman getting cut. I mean, kind of surprising to see that Tyrell Williams all of a sudden fantasy relevant again, or at least on the fantasy radar. So now Justin Fields continuing to fall. Justin Fields usually, I mean, you could see the pass fire go with Justin Fields here. He did take a Russell Wilson previously. So yeah, he goes with Fields. If not, we would have taken Justin Fields at the 1209. Now, if we're talking about other quarterbacks we could potentially stack with, we don't really have any. And at this point, we definitely need to start looking to bring in some of these receivers. Okay, so now the problem is, guys, I mean, with these receivers, like, are we really that excited about a Jalen Reagor, a Sterling Shepard? Like, are these guys ahead of any of these other receivers in this tier? I think receiver at this point has gotten so soaked up that it's not necessarily going to be meaningful enough for us to go through and draft the position. So instead, we're going to get Devin Singletary. And at this point in the draft, on underdog in particular, it's a very, 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 very bad thing to have more running backs on your team than wide receivers. But we're more so playing the draft board here. I mean, this isn't necessarily my strategy coming in. Usually I like to build around the wide receiver position a little bit more. But the problem is just how this draft has gone so far. It has not allowed for us to do that actually. So yeah, I mean, we are going to have to go with a Devin Singletary. We're about to be back up in just 1 second. Of course, that's nice to see those tight ends going off. But I will say also, when we have, I mean, this type of investment into the running back position, now we cannot draft another running back. I think that we could potentially look to grab another QB here. Then we would be done at quarterback the rest of the draft. And then we'd just be a receiver, 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 receiver. And we'd end up drafting 9 of them. And on a team where we already have Davonte Adams, Adam Thielen, Jamar Chase, and Allen Robinson, I think just going through and filling in with a crap ton of depth that may not necessarily mean anything. All we need is about 2 or 3 of them to actually go through and pop off. But guys, if you have yet to go down there and drop a like on the live stream, what are you doing? Make sure you drop a like. I'm going to send out a poll right here. Okay, so we sent that out. Yeah, so we get double tight ends. We get Tua Tagovailoa going as well to Thomas. So maybe that takes away any interest that we would actually have from getting a quarterback. I think there's only one more that we would potentially consider as being someone that we only have to draft really once, and then we're done at the quarterback position the rest of the way. Let's pull this up. Hopefully we get some of these running backs going off as well, because we can't look at running back or tight end really the rest of the draft. We are exclusively quarterback and receiver. So we have Reagor at the 1301. It's intriguing to see Amara St. Brown not going any higher than this. I mean, I would just assume based on the limited options that they have in Detroit that he should continue to rise in ADP. But at this point, we may go... We'll see what happens. We'll see. Okay, so at Christie is on the clock. They only have 2 running backs. So yeah, I'd imagine that they definitely grab a running back here. I mean, I'd be very surprised to see anything but a running back. They could go quarterback if they wanted. But yeah, they go Alexander Madison. That makes a lot of sense. So now at this point, I think that we're probably just going to grab a... Like if we grab Matt Ryan here, I think Matt Ryan provides us a high enough floor, and he has a different bye week than a Joe Burrow where we're done at QB and we're just wide receiver from here on out. These receivers don't necessarily stand out to me. So let's grab a Matt Ryan. We don't have a stack. I know this is a pretty gross team. We're going to backfill with a lot of receiver. I promise you, every round that we draft from here is going to be a receiver. Usually, I don't like this build, but I mean, usually you're not getting Mike Davis at the 704. Usually, you're not getting Raheem Mostert at the 809. I mean, we got some values on this team that you're just not really seeing fall in fantasy drafts. Okay, so let's move this down. RHA Vlogs coming out. Thank you, my man says. AJ Brown or Adam Thielen. My man, you want AJ Brown over Adam Thielen. And the big thing is, guys, I mean, the easiest way that you can get my entire 2021 rankings, my entire 2021 draft guide, hundreds of pages of information. I mean, and you can support the channel, and you get $25 added to your account, and you can come out and get involved with us on a live stream, is deposit $10 onto Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK. You can find the link in the description. You're getting paid $25 to go out there and get in a fantasy contest. I know drafts are going to end very soon, but Underdog Fantasy is going to be doing so many cool things throughout the season. I'm very excited to show it to y'all. So just make sure y'all take advantage of that right away. Get my rankings, support the channel. It helps us out a ton, guys. Okay, so now after this, we got Amara St. Brown, Sterling Shepard, Hunter Henry. Get these tight ends off the board. Let's go. Come on. Let's get them moving. Let's get them moving. I'm tired of staring at them whenever we pull up the draft board. You got Traquan Smith going at the 1309. Funny to see Smith going at the 1309 when now, I mean, Marquez Callaway's like a consistent 8th round pick. It's very surprising. Okay, Steven says, this draft is ugly, Mason. Honestly, I like this draft. I mean, I think that while, yes, we don't have the wide receiver depth so far, we've gotten enough guys at the very top that it's going to be fine for us to just go through, and knowing that we're also probably going to have a running back hitting our flex week a decent amount of times, given the 5 running backs that we have drafted, we're really only having to cover those 3 wide receiver slots. And whenever we have 5 wide receivers that we are about to add onto this team, while none of them project to be guys that you're comfortably relying on each and every week, I think they can cycle through and they can be guys that are getting played during bye weeks, guys getting played during an injury or two. So honestly, I mean, we are above average at tight end. We're probably average at quarterback. We are above average at running back. I think we're going to be average to above average at receiver as well. Jayan says he's in the draft with Bidge. Laughing my ass off, my man. Good luck, my dude. Jay says, you don't think Julio Jones and A.J. Brown conflict? I think that A.J. Brown's been a wide receiver that has never really lived off of volume. He's always lived off of efficiency. He's done it over the past 2 seasons. I think he's going into year 3 at an elite profile coming in. Still extremely young, unlike Terry McLaurin in that same draft class. So I'm going to expect him to continue to get better. So yeah, no, I think that we're just completely fine going A.J. Brown over Adam Thielen. And honestly, my man, I'm not even really questioning that much. T. Pearson says, one time in Underdog, Justin Jefferson fell to me at the 306 for some reason. That is why I don't think I've ever seen Justin Jefferson fall to the 306 on Underdog. And I have done, I mean, I don't even know how many drafts I've done at this point. We've maybe done, if you include like the big dog drafts, the puppy drafts, the drafts I've done with y'all, Best Ball Mania, I probably have done 200 drafts so far. And I don't know if I've ever seen Justin Jefferson fall that far. Okay, so now we are done at quarterback. We are done at running back. We are done at tight end. One position and one position only from here on out. Let's pull it up. We're going to be looking at some receivers here, just trying to find. Okay, so Rashad Penny. Okay, this is perfect. We get KJ Hamler coming in here as our wide receiver 5. Y'all know I love KJ Hamler even before the preseason, and obviously in the preseason when he has some splash plays, it does make us even that more excited. And guys, we are going to get another draft going after this one. We're going to send that out in the live chat, so make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you drop that like. I mean, it's going to be a fun time tonight. We live stream almost every single night as well. Jet says, Mason, what are your thoughts on Josh Jacobs? My man, clearly you are new to the channel. I will say you're probably going to hear us talk about Josh Jacobs a lot. Everybody in this chat is tired of hearing me talk about Josh Jacobs. So I think we're going to calm down. Caden says, last night I got in another draft with scissors, a $3 one. I laughed my ass off. That's pretty funny, my man. That's funny. I mean, not on the live stream. I mean, you could kind of tell that he knew what he was doing in these drafts just because, I mean, from a roster construction, I was kind of sitting here going, okay, well, let's see if he's actually been in a draft, because obviously, like, whenever I have people reaching out to me saying, like, oh, I like fantasy football, a lot of them are just like, they like fantasy football. They just play with their friends. They play with their family. I mean, they play with people at work, and they don't necessarily understand, like, roster construction, especially what to do on Underdog Fantasy. And when we saw him in the draft, and I mean, especially after the first 3 rounds where I was sitting there, I was like, oh, Mahomes in third, don't really like that. And like slamming receiver after that. I mean, you could kind of tell that he gets into those drafts and he goes after it. Okay, so now let's pull this up. You got Randall Cobb, Christian Kirk going at the 14-15 turn. Now, Thomas is on the clock here. Maybe, okay, Thomas is going to go with a Damian Williams. Chuba Hubbard. Okay, that's exactly what we're wanting to see. So between Crowder, Watkins, Palmer, I actually think that you do have more spike week potential with like a Sammy Watkins and a Josh Palmer. But on this roster in particular, when we're drafting our wide receiver 6, I don't necessarily think that we need to go through and worry that much about spike weeks. Instead, let's just go and get a Jameson Crowder who we know can provide us, I don't want to say a high floor on a week-to-week basis, but he can provide us a decent amount of targets. He's going to be running a lot of routes out of the slot in New York this upcoming season. So let's grab a Jameson Crowder at the 1504, and this is going to be our draft so far, my dudes. I think that with Adams, A-Rob, Thielen, Chase, Hamler, I believe we just drafted Crowder at receiver. Pretty good receiver room. At running back, Harris, Swift, Davis, Mostert, Devin Singletary. Pretty good running back room. We have Higbee, Thielen at tight end. Decent tight end room. And then Burrow, Matt Ryan at quarterback. And we're going to continue to bring in more receivers in the back half of this draft, trying to find guys that just randomly pop into the starting lineup. I mean, I think that's something that's going to be very beneficial for us here. And RHA Vlogs coming out says Anaji Harris or Miles Sanders. Okay, so I think that we actually want to roll with Najee Harris for 2021. And that's going to be a running back that we're looking at and just saying, well, I mean, he's going to get every single touch in his backfield. Even if the offensive line's really bad, even if we have questions about the offense, even if I have questions about him as a prospect, the offensive line is not necessarily going to change the fact that he's going to get 300 touches this upcoming season, and Miles Sanders simply won't. Okay, Steven says, Mason, how do we get into a draft with you on the live stream? Okay, guys, step A to get into a draft with me on the live stream is sign up for Underdog Fantasy with promo code Flock. Now, because we're getting out all that information, I mean, we're getting out our draft guide, we're getting out my rankings, I'm getting out my tiers, and more importantly, Underdog is adding $25 to your account when you sign up with promo code Flock through the link in the description of the video. You can find it in the live chat as well. I mean, because you're getting all of that, and for some state laws, you actually have to verify your identity before you actually can get into a draft. Now, it depends on the state that you live in. The state that I live in, it took me about 3 or 4 minutes to actually verify my identity. But the reason is, I mean, you have to really understand that Underdog is adding $25 to your account when you make a $10 deposit with promo code Flock. They can't have someone going through and creating 20 different accounts, then all of a sudden robbing Underdog Fantasy of like $500. Obviously, that's not going to be the play here. So make sure you just take a second beforehand to set up your account, because it is going to be something. It took me like 3 or 4 minutes to get that done, because we're going to send out a link in the live chat, and it's going to say, hey, join our next draft. I will actually label it like $10 draft here, and it's going to be a link. And then from there, you actually just press that link, and then you go through, and it's going to be the first 11 people that press that link and get in this live chat. I mean, they're going to be the ones in the draft, but it fills up in literally 1 second, guys. I mean, there are over 500 people in here, and keep in mind, the majority of people in here have already used promo code Flock on Underdog Fantasy to take advantage of all that. So they're all going to be trying to get in that $10 draft. So you have to get it in like 1 second. So if you wait until I send that link out and you're like, oh, okay, well, let's set up an account, blah, blah, you're not getting in. Okay, so just make sure you set up that account, and I'll send a link in the live chat, and it will be $10 draft here, blank, or $50 draft here, based on whatever we're doing. Now we're going to grab another receiver between these guys at the very top. I actually am going to prefer Nico Collins. I think Nico Collins is going to have a safer role on the Houston Texans offense than what you actually have with these other receivers. So yeah, let's go through and let's get a Nico Collins at the 1609. Let me switch this back over. And everybody saw the top of this draft. You can pause it. You can take a screenshot, whatever you need to do. Rewind. And yeah, there we go. We're just going to be drafting receivers from here. And I'm not going to waste too much time. We will get I'm trying to think, should we get a $250 draft going after this one, or should we get another $10 draft going? Let me hop in the $250 draft lobby, and we'll just see what that is looking like. Okay, so the $250 draft lobby is waiting for 10 people right now. So we're not going to do a $250 draft right now. Instead, we'll wait, and we'll do that later on in the stream. Instead, I will get a $10 draft set up, and I'm going to send that link out in the live chat literally as soon as this draft is over. I mean, the second I make my last pick, I'm going to send that link out, because I want to get as many drafts going with y'all tonight as possible. As many drafts going, because I know a lot of y'all have used promo code Flock. I know a lot of y'all want to get in a draft with us. There are not that many nights left that we're going to do this. While yes, we have live streamed every single night for like the past 5 weeks, I want to say, I mean, it's coming to an end on these drafts. We're still going to be doing very fun things. We're going to do a lot on Underdog Fantasy for everybody that's already signed up with promo code Flock as well. Okay, Adam Chapman at the 1702. Let's pull this up. And we're just going to go receiver again. I mean, it's just receiver, receiver, receiver here. I mean, Donovan Peoples-Jones, I don't necessarily understand the hype that everybody is actually seeing with a Donovan Peoples-Jones. If we're looking at other receivers right here, I mean, I'll say I understand the hype. I think it's a little overblown. I actually really liked him as a buy low candidate in Dynasty halfway through this past summer. But outside of that, I mean, Darius Slayton takes a small step down. I'm going to be making a quote-unquote reach here for Hunter Renfrow. I actually think with John Brown getting cut, Renfrow is going to be a very intriguing receiver that's just going to have a role on his offense. I mean, we know that Henry Ruggs is not necessarily going to be the most durable player based on that speed profile that he has and what we have seen historically in the NFL with those guys dealing with some nagging injuries. So I think Hunter Renfrow probably a safe option to be just getting targets every single week. That's kind of what we're going to be looking for here. So yeah, we're going to draft him, and then we're going to get one more receiver at the end of this draft. I know a lot of people probably wanted to see Demarcus Robinson. I know a lot of people probably wanted to see Donovan Peoples-Jones. We have a couple more donations coming out. We have one coming out from John, says trade Mixon and Cooper for Davonte Adams and Trey Sermon. Here, I probably am going to end up preferring the Joe Mixon and Amari Cooper side. Now, RHA Vlog says Najee Harris or Miles Sanders. Then we're going to go with a Harris. And then Raygun says, should I sell high on Gus Edwards since Le'Veon Bell and Devonta Freeman are working out with the Ravens all week? I'll say, I mean, I kind of already wanted you to go through and sell high on a Gus Edwards. It's going to be harder if now your league mates are paying attention to those same reports and you're not going to get the value that you did before. I'll say, if you can go through and if you can sell him about where you drafted him before, if you drafted him after that injury, then yes, I probably would. Now, if we see after that, JG says, do you prefer Eckler or Harris in the first round? We prefer Austin Eckler in a PPR format. Then Jacob says, yo, use your promo code FLOCK today. How do I get your draft guide? Also, I'm going to try to hop in a draft tonight. I'm fast enough. My man, thank you so much for using promo code FLOCK and coming out. So the easiest way to go get that draft guide, I mean, you literally get it like that, is check the description of the video. I mean, it's all there where you signed up for Underdog Fantasy with. All you have to do is shoot me a DM literally on Twitter, Instagram, Patreon, Discord. It doesn't matter where. Or you can even send me an email. My email's in the description of the video as well. If you don't have any access to an Instagram, Patreon, Discord, or Twitter, that's completely fine. And wherever you send me a message, all you have to say is, Mason, listen here, you good for nothing smelly bum who has no idea what he's talking about. I signed up with promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy. Here's the email that I signed up with. You have to get me the email that you signed up for Underdog Fantasy with, and I'll be very happy to go through, and I'll be very happy to go through and send you that draft guide ASAP. Okay, Donovan Peoples-Jones ends up falling to the 18th round here. You got Tyler Kroft. Intriguing to see Tyler Kroft going as often as he is. I mean, I'm kind of surprised about Tyler Kroft going in this range. Okay, we almost just sent out. Okay, Austin says, just deposited $20. I'm going to try to get in the next one. My man, thank you so much for supporting the channel. And I'll say also, guys, if y'all are watching this as a video later on, Underdog has a ton of private leagues as well. So you're going, oh, I would have liked to do a league. No, you can go and do a public league on Underdog. They fill like, they do $5 drafts that fill like this. I mean, they fill constantly. That's what I pretty much do all day. Like if I'm not on a live stream, just because whenever I go through and record Patreon podcasts all day, I promise you, I'm always in a draft. I'm in a draft 100% of the time that we are doing those. Now we're going to be pulling up the receivers. There are two receivers that actually, I'm fine with any of the three receivers that are on top of this board. I'm fine with any of those three. God, this has been a good draft. This has been a really good draft. Okay, so we got Latavius Murray going at the 1807, Cheeky Hobson on. We're either going to be getting, honestly, we're going to take either Dwayne Eskridge or Josh Reynolds. I think Kadarius Toney's good for week one. I think we actually prefer Toney first, Eskridge, then Reynolds. We'll get whoever is going to be making it between that. Now let me send out a new link for our new draft, my dudes. Okay, so go to the live chat right now. This is going to be a $10 draft that we are doing. We just sent that out, so pretty much the first 10 people to go through and click that link and get in that draft with me. I mean, they're going to be in, and we're going to get this going on the live stream ASAP. So let me switch this over. Underdog Fantasy. Actually, can I just drag this over here? Perfect. Okay, so that is getting filled. You're going to see that it gets filled in literally like 1 second. Like I said, I mean, it's really hard to get into these, especially the $10 drafts. When we get like in a $250 draft later tonight, I mean, it's going to be really easy if you want to get into one of those. Those are going to fill a lot slower. Okay, but here we do have the 108, and we're going to see some new people out to the stream. I mean, there are a couple names that I have not recognized before, so welcome to the stream. We have not seen Lat out here. We have not seen King View Mead. We have not seen Skittens. We have not seen Resident. And now everybody else, I believe they're regulars. I mean, y'all know Steve the Weave, DSR, Vito's, Caden, Venetia, JK Ooper's out here a lot. Derek's out here a lot. Yeah, so we got some new people to the stream and some regulars at the same time. The Pacifier is saying his tight ends are trash. Let me go pull up that old draft to see what your tight ends were actually looking like, my man. If I can find that old draft. Okay, I am sorry. It's gonna be impossible for me to find that draft. Actually, no. Maybe I can. Okay, yeah, I just found that. Okay, so now Steve the Weave on the clock with the 101. I mean, let's try to map this out real quick. I can already tell you we're probably going to be looking at either Kelsey or Hill. Whoever really falls to us, the 108. Maybe we go Barkley if neither do, but I'd expect at least one of them are going to fall. Let's see what the pass fire actually was working with. Okay, so his tight ends. He had Ertz. Man, you took 3 of them. You're fine. I mean, we take Ertz, Cook, Ferksker. You're not going to get that many spike weeks, but you're going to have a strong baseline at tight end every single week because you don't have to decide when of those guys are going to be starting. So, yeah, you're completely fine at tight end. Okay, so now let's pull this back up. Now we got CMC, Dalvin Cook going at the 101, the 102. Alvin Kamara, no surprise to anybody. Come on, get us who we're wanting to fall at the 108. I'd imagine that since we're in a league, keep in mind, everybody that we're drafting with right now use promo code FLOCK and Underdog Fantasy, so they all have my rankings. People like to come out here and snipe us, so it's going to be a little harder for us to go and actually get our guys. We get a Derrick Henry going at the 105. Okay, so there are 2 players that I'm really looking at. Ezekiel Elliott goes, okay, so we're going to at least get one of Travis Kelce or Tyreek Hill. This is perfect. That's what we were hoping. I didn't necessarily want to be taking an Ezekiel Elliott at the 108. I'm a lot more excited about getting one of these players right here. And Aaron Jones goes as well. So we're going to take Travis Kelce, and this is a no-brainer selection. Especially we have to consider the fact that this is a league that doesn't have access to the waiver wire. So that's going to change a couple things with what you're doing from an overall roster construction standpoint, where these elite tight ends are even worth more than they were before. So now that we get a Kelce, we're actually going to be able to grab either a 3-down running back or probably a DK Metcalf here at the 205. And then from there, we can just go receiver. We can probably get a running back in round 5 if we don't feel comfortable with it. And then the great thing is when we take a Kelce here, keep in mind, when we don't have access to the waiver wire, we're going to have to take another tight end regardless. But if we waited later, like if we took a Jonnu Smith as our tight end 1, then we're probably going to have to take a tight end again right away. And we may have to draft 3 of them. Whereas when we take a Travis Kelce, we're only going to have to draft 1. And at the same time, we can wait until the very end of the draft to draft our last guy. Okay, so you get Lat starting off, Barkley and Austin Eckler. I always like to see what the new people in the live streams are doing. Okay, so this is definitely going to be the new person in the live stream, Lat, and going Barkley, Eckler. So he's looking like a running back heavy guy because he could have had. Actually, I guess you kind of have to go Barkley and Eckler, but I'm assuming you could have decided to go wide receiver here and then just get one of the running backs making it back. So Darren Waller going at the 204 obviously is fantastic for us. So now we're probably just going to get our guy in a Jonathan Taylor. I mean, y'all know this is the dream start that we always talk about. I mean, this is something that I said it in the last stream, but whenever my head hits the pillow at night, like if I had a fantastic day, like if it wasn't that stressful, and I mean, I just worked a day all day where all I did was talk about fantasy football. All I did was make videos, do research. I mean, make podcasts, do a live stream. That's all I do every single day, to be honest. So after a just wonderful day of fantasy football, when my head hits the pillow, if I'm not stressed and I get some sweet, sweet dreams in, my dreams are literally me sitting here at this desk and clicking draft on Travis Kelce, then clicking draft on Jonathan Taylor, because there's no better start that you're getting than Kelce Taylor. I believe that Taylor, I mean, has the upside to be a top 5 running back this year. A lot of people were drafting Jonathan Taylor here at like the 106 or the 107. And as soon as we had the injury to both Quentin Nelson and Carson Wentz, he dropped to being a middle of the 2nd round pick, as he should have. He should have dropped that far. But also, we have to understand, now we're getting the positive reports saying Carson Wentz playing week 1. Quentin Nelson on track as well. So now we have those positive reports that those guys are playing. And no, I don't think Jonathan Taylor should go back to being a 106, 107, because at that point, yeah, he's probably getting overdrafted a little bit. But we have him in our rankings right now. I mean, if you go to Patreon or if you use promo code FLOCK and Underdog Fantasy and you pull them up, I mean, you're going to see Jonathan Taylor go up to the 110. I mean, come on, guys. Steven says, Mason, you need a woman, dude. I don't need a woman. Are you kidding me? What I need is Travis Kelce and Jonathan Taylor in the 1st and 2nd round. That's all I ever need. Like, Steven, you just embarrassed yourself, my dude. You really just embarrassed yourself. I mean, you are that needy that in life you can't just take Travis Kelce and Jonathan Taylor in the 2nd round and be content? I mean, after this, my day is complete. My day is made. I'm just good for the day. I'm probably going to call my mom after this and be like, hey, Mom, great day today. I got Kelce in the 1st, Taylor in the 2nd. She's going to go, oh, really? Those idiots in the draft, they let you do that again? I'm going to say, yeah, I have no idea how. I keep on telling them this is such a profitable strategy. I don't know how they're allowing it to happen. But, I mean, I think that we're just completely fine, my dudes. Okay, so guys, everybody's saying, has Mason addressed Le'Veon Bell working out? I haven't talked about Le'Veon Bell working out that much, but I have talked about time and time again why you should not be drafting J.K. Dobbins where he's going in drafts. We've already addressed that at length. So now, do I just double down, come out here and talk about it again? Don't draft J.K. Dobbins where he's going in drafts? I mean, it's not a massive deal, Le'Veon Bell working out, but I just want to echo my sentiment that, I mean, he's getting overdrafted. Avoid him. Okay, so now at this point, I know a lot of people probably would be interested in a Patrick Mahomes to stack him here with the Travis Kelce. And while, yes, we like chasing those elite level stacks, I mean, I think it does put us at a hole at wide receiver where I definitely prefer just bringing in Amari Cooper. Now, if we get Mahomes falling to us in the 4th round, that's going to be a spot where I will be willing to draft Patrick Mahomes. However, we do have Skittins here who decided to take a Tyreek Hill at the 109. So you could potentially see them decide to go with a Mahomes in the 4th to get the Tyreek Hill and Mahomes stack. And maybe they don't give us that option to in the middle of the 4th round. But considering this is a $10 draft, we do need to be practicing for those $250 drafts that we are doing later today. And I think some really good practice is trying to figure out how to make the Mahomes and Kelce team work, because it's one of the hardest things to do. Okay, and also, guys, if you have yet to subscribe to the channel, if you have yet to drop a like on the live stream, I don't know what I need to do, my dudes. Go down there, subscribe to the channel. We have streamed every single day for the past like 5 weeks. And you better believe we are going to continue the daily live streams during the season. We're putting out videos during the day, talking waiver wire. I mean, going through, talking start sit, talking weekly rankings. Make sure you're subscribing. We actually are probably going to pass 34,000 subscribers on this live stream. We're probably passing 34,000 subscribers on this live stream. So make sure you go through and subscribe to the channel. So now let me... So now we're going to be back up on the clock. We took Julio Jones here. I'm sorry, Julio Jones went at the 4-3. Now, are we going to be looking at a Mahomes? So no, Mahomes goes right before us, kind of like what we were talking about. So now the problem is, like, I know, like, if you're looking at my rankings, I think in a regular league, you do want to be going James Robinson here every single time. It's a little harder knowing what we're going to do with wide receiver, and we're probably going to get boxed out from the position. However, I think that... let's go with the running back here. Since we only have to beat 11 other people and we're not necessarily going through and competing in the large field tournament for underdog, I think that the overall 99th percentile outcome's a little less important. And instead, it's going to be important to just get as many points into this starting lineup as humanly possible. And that's probably with taking a James Robinson at the 405. So let's get Robinson at the 405. Colin coming out with the donation. Thank you, my man, says, drafting for my big money league tomorrow, man. Wish me luck. Your content has been so helpful. Probably going to sign up for your Patreon soon. My man, thank you so much. And everybody spam the chat right now. Good luck, Colin. I mean, just if you literally watch like one of these live streams through their entirety, I think there's probably nothing that prepares you more than seeing some real money fantasy drafts, exactly where these guys are going, and seeing some real roster constructions at work and seeing like the thought process that goes in behind them. I mean, I know our videos, I really am proud of the videos that we do during the day, but from just helping people with a fantasy football draft, I think there's nothing on YouTube that comes close to these live streams that we do every single night. I really think that watching these live streams prepares you more than anything else. Mike says, who should I start? Cam Akers, J.K. Dobbins, or Travis Etienne? Mike, I actually have that question in a lot of my dynasty drafts. Like, I'm really sitting here going, okay, well, Cam Akers going up against the Chicago Bears. I mean, this is a spot where you actually have, surprisingly, the Rams as massive favorites over the Bears. I mean, that's one of the biggest spreads of the week. And I'm sitting here going, well, Cam Akers, he's my dynasty running back 4. This is someone that we've been loading up on all offseason. I can't wait to unleash this bell cow running back. However, on the other side of the spectrum, I mean, we have Travis Etienne going up against the Houston Texans in week 1. And I'm sitting here going, okay, well, Travis Etienne, y'all know how excited I've been about him. He's the new age DeAndre Swift, the new age Aaron Jones, the new age, I mean, Travis Etienne is Alvin Kamara. They're all the same running back. And I'm just so excited to see him out on the field week 1. It's been what I've been looking forward to all offseason now, that between Travis Etienne and Cam Akers in particular, I have so much money invested into them. Like, if anything would happen, like if they got injured or something, I'd probably be losing a lot of money this season. So prayers up that Cam Akers and Travis Etienne, they stay safe. I'm probably going to end up rolling with Cam Akers, though. I mean, we saw Cam Akers finish so strong to the end of the season last year. We're probably going to have to end up going with Cam Akers. Okay, so now let me give some shout outs to people subscribing to the channel. We have DD Red Solo Cup We have Done subscribing. We have Difunge. I have no idea how to say that name. I probably embarrassed myself. We have Tumon subscribing. We have Hunter subscribing. Brian, Daniel, King in the North, Dominic, Serge, Derek, Sebastian, Edwin, Scissors, Jack, Jordy, Raygun. I know Raygun, that was a donation, sorry. But thank you everybody for going down there and subscribing to the channel. Now let's pull this back up. I mean, we're like desperate for a receiver at this point. Going 4 rounds in, only having one guy in a regular draft that you're going to be in. I don't necessarily want you to be panicking at this point. However, on Underdog Fantasy in particular, the receiver position kind of just gets thrown out of whack very early on. And obviously we can't look at tight end, and that sucks because Andrews, Hawkinson are great values here. But whenever we took a Travis Kelce in the first round, we do that saying that we're not drafting another tight end until the very end of the draft. Okay, so what are we going to have here? I mean, Gus Edwards, I didn't like him beforehand, and obviously now that they're bringing in possible competition added on, obviously Justice Hill does get injured, but I mean, Gus Edwards, I didn't like him beforehand, and now I definitely don't like him. Instead, let's just bring in a receiver. I mean, it sucks because all these receivers are in the same range, and this has been a mistake that I've made in the past where we used to look at this pick and go, well, there's going to be a significant drop-off from Josh Jacobs and the running backs after this. Let's grab Josh Jacobs. Well, the problem is looking at it that way is true in that, yes, Odell Beckham Jr. is 100% a reach here. Like, you don't necessarily want to be drafting Odell at the 508, but at the same time, I mean, we're going to be in a spot where we need to get 2 receivers anyway. So even though Odell is someone that's going to be almost identical to the receiver that we get in the 6th round, this is one of the biggest lessons that I've learned, is I think that we just have to kind of swallow our pride, swallow our ego, and go, yes, we're going to make a reach. Yes, this doesn't necessarily make sense, and you probably want to have someone like Josh Jacobs at this pick who we would prefer over him. But the problem is on Underdog Fantasy, if we continue to pass on those receivers, we're going to be put in a very difficult position. So we're going to have to take Odell Beckham Jr. Now, Debo coming through and starting this draft off with 5 receivers in a row, and he had the ability to draft a Josh Jacobs. So he takes Kareem Hunt. He even goes Hunt over Josh Jacobs. I'll say I probably wouldn't do that, just knowing that, I mean, he would just be having such a high floor with Josh Jacobs that you're going to crush at wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, and the flex every week. And you're at least going to get a baseline of production from Jacobs at RB that you don't necessarily need to have that elite level upside there. So intriguing. And at what point do we take Gus Edwards? That's the question. At what point do we take Gus Edwards? Okay, so Davis goes to the 603. We actually just drafted him at the end of the... Yes, like I said, I mean, I literally have recently made a video talking about Gus Edwards being the most overdrafted player in fantasy. So I'll say at this point, Gus Edwards is okay value, but we took Odell Beckham Jr. in the last round, understanding that we kind of had to go double receiver here. So there's no reason to stray off our path. So it kind of sucks. And looking back on it, we definitely did, I don't want to say panic, but we did make the incorrect decision. And I don't know how we did this because we have done so many of these drafts where I would assume that I have the muscle memory built in to not take James Robinson in the 4th round and understand that, hell, I mean, instead of getting Robinson in the 4th here, let's grab T. Higgins. Let's get T. Higgins at the 405. And then instead of getting Odell in the 5th, we can go get our guy Josh Jacobs. So I definitely prefer the combination of like T. Higgins and Josh Jacobs compared to James Robinson and Odell Beckham Jr. Let me know what you're thinking about that, but I think I definitely made a mistake there. And also, guys, if you have not dropped a like on the live stream, if you have not subscribed to the channel, do so already. But to be honest, I mean, it looks like everybody here has dropped a like on the live stream. It looks like we have like 300 likes on the live stream. Thank you, everybody, for going down there and doing so. Okay, now Gus Edwards goes at the 609. So I guess that, like, this is the point where I'm saying this is a good value for Gus Edwards. If you're going to get Gus Edwards at this point in your draft, yes, I was saying that he was severely overdrafted whenever he was going like ahead of Miles Sanders. Now at this point, completely fine value, completely fine value. And Bart coming out says Gus Edwards is a stud. The problem is, while Gus Edwards is in a great situation with his rushing efficiency, and that we know Lamar Jackson provides just so much security for those running backs with the defensive attention that he's going to take away. The problem is Gus Edwards is never a running back that's going to get a single target out of the backfield. I mean, you would be shocked if Gus Edwards hit 30 receptions this season. And for a running back to be that limited in the receiving game, I mean, it's very similar to Damian Harris, where yes, he can be an incredibly efficient running back, but if he's not going to get every single touch in the rushing game, if he's not going to be a literal Derrick Henry, if he's not going to be as talented as a Nick Chubb, at that point, his ceiling is very capped. I mean, I'm not necessarily liking drafting Derrick Henry or Nick Chubb this year. I can't like drafting like a Damian Harris or a Gus Edwards, another one of those running backs that just simply aren't getting utilized in the receiving games for their offenses. Okay, Daniel says, let's do another $10 draft since you vultures wouldn't let me join this one. We're going to get as many drafts in as we can go tonight. I will check, like once we get to like the 15th round here, I'm going to pivot over and I'm going to look at the $250 league and I'm going to say, okay, let's see what the $250 room looks like. If it looks like we're not going to have to sit there and wait around for a while, we will definitely get like a $250 draft going, but I'll try to get another $10 draft going as well. That's why we're going through this as fast as we possibly can. Okay, now, obviously, like Russell Wilson looks like a great value. I honestly okay, Wilson goes. I was going to say we would take Wilson regardless of what ended up happening with our stack situation, but it would have just been too good to pass up on. Okay, so now J.K. Ooper out. He has a quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 receivers, and a tight end. So I guess maybe he's also going to be looking for a receiver. Maybe he doesn't necessarily panic as much as we do at the receiver position. I just know how ugly it gets very fast. So that's why I want to continue to grab those guys early. So he goes Kenny Golladay. So at this point, I think when we have 3 receivers, like we can kind of pump the brakes a little bit and we can just acknowledge the fact that all of these receivers are in the same tier and we're going to get one of these guys making it back to us in the next round. So when we're going to get one of those guys making it back to us in the next round, I think we do want to take a running back here. I'm going to prefer Chase Edmonds over Raheem Mostert. I think Mostert outperforms Chase Edmonds at the beginning part of the season, but the bad problem is with the Raheem Mostert, as we know, I mean, you're going to have Trey Sermon take over as the starting running back, as the lead running back pretty soon. So yeah, we're going to go Chase Edmonds over Mostert. We actually got Mostert at the very end of the 8th round here, which was disgusting and was so far behind his ADP. Maybe we got him at the beginning of the 9th. I don't know. We got him at like the 8-9 turn in the last draft, but I'm definitely going to prefer Chase Edmonds over him, even though I know most people will not agree with that. And Nicholas says, check Priv donation. Also, how did I send my team on Patreon? Okay, so let me go through and check that out. Thank you, my dude. And okay, so if you join Patreon and you want to send your team for a breakdown, literally shoot me a DM on Patreon. Say, hey, Mason, how do I send my team for a breakdown? Shoot me that DM on Patreon. I'll walk you through that really quick. Nicholas says, sup, man? I sent you a DM to you today on Patreon if I should trade Kamara and Edmonds for Antonio Gibson and James Robinson. And you said no, just want to know why. Yeah, I actually just said no right before we went live. Okay, so if we're looking at trading Kamara and Chase Edmonds for Antonio Gibson and James Robinson, I mean, I think at this point, you're just looking at it. If you're playing in a shallow redraft league, you have to be looking at the studs like an Alvin Kamara, and you have to understand they're so irreplaceable that those are going to be guys that are making an impact in your starting lineup weekly. And we know that the floor ceiling combination that they have to offer, simply, you're not getting the same thing from an Antonio Gibson. If we knew, like, say they released J.D. McKissic and Antonio Gibson was 100% getting the receiving down role on his offense regardless, then yes, at that point, we would be completely fine at going out there and just rolling him out. But the problem is we don't know that for sure. So I think the floor on an Alvin Kamara, you don't need me to tell you this, but it's going to be significantly higher. And we've already seen Alvin Kamara have that elite ceiling. And we can sit here and we can go, well, you're not getting that big of a downgrade from a James Robinson to a Chase Edmonds, as crazy as that sounds. I promise you, just understanding how large of a downgrade it is to go to like an Alvin Kamara to any of these other running backs in the middle of the 2nd round, like someone like an Antonio Gibson. Antonio Gibson here goes at the 208. I promise you that's a much bigger downgrade than what you're actually having with a James Robinson down here to a Chase Edmonds. Okay, so now let's switch this back over. And I don't think we have anything else we need to address. We have some more people subscribing to the channel. Thank you, Christopher, Ed, Gary, Reaver, Cody. And yeah, I mean, we got some other names, but thank you everybody going down there subscribing to the channel. Guys, if you were just now subscribing, we have been live streaming every single night for the past like 5 weeks pretty much. And we're going to be streaming almost every night during the season as well. So make sure you go down there and subscribe. Okay, so now we have a massive run on wide receiver. We're still going to be needing to get a quarterback here with this team. So if we're going to be looking at quarterbacks right now, we don't have any intriguing stacks with elite options that we could get. We have a lot of guys that we could get for a 3 quarterback build later on in the draft. And if you are just now joining this live stream, guys, we are playing on Underdog Fantasy. This is by far and away my favorite place to draft every single year. I know everybody in this live stream already knows this. This is why we've been live streaming every single day, because I was going to do these drafts regardless of if we were streaming them or not, because I have so much fun. So I reached out to Underdog Fantasy this offseason. And while other companies were reaching out and wanting to partner with us, I reached out to Underdog and I went, please, 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 please take us on. Take us on. I will do anything to have this partnership with Underdog Fantasy. And they not only agreed to partner with this channel, not only did they agree to sponsor this channel, but also they agreed to sponsor our 2021 draft guide and our 2021 rankings. So if you sign up for Underdog Fantasy to get into the draft with me, or we're going to be doing so many fun things during the season with Underdog Fantasy as well, and you deposit $10, this is a $10 draft right here. We're going to get a $250 draft going in a little bit, but of course we're still going to do those $10 leagues, and you make that $10 deposit with promo code FLOCK. You can find the link in the description of the video. You actually get our draft guide, our rankings, our Dynasty Rookie Draft Guide. You actually get $25 added to your account. So you're getting $25 to go out there and get into real money fantasy drafts. And at the same time, you're getting in those drafts with myself. So please make sure you take advantage of that. And clearly this goes without saying, but when y'all use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy and make that $10 deposit, there is nothing, and I repeat, nothing that comes close to helping this channel as much as y'all do. So please make sure y'all take advantage. And here we're going to be just chasing a receiver that's going to have a large role in his offense, someone that's going to get a lot of targets. So yes, DJ Chark does look like he's ready for week 1. Yes, I prefer DJ Chark over Marvin Jones. Crazy that anybody out here is trying to say otherwise. A big thing is we're going to see a drop-off at receiver very soon. And also, this is a league that doesn't have the fantasy football playoffs. It's just who can score the most points throughout the entire season. Marvin Jones is more intriguing for a format like that than what you actually have with like a Rondale Moore, Elijah Moore. I would definitely prefer like Rondale Moore, Elijah Moore in a regular format where you actually do have the fantasy football playoffs, because then we can expect the breakouts at the end of the season. Then we can expect the elite level upside. But if we're just looking for the most points throughout the entire year, I'm actually going to prefer to instead go through and get that option in Marvin Jones. Now, you do have some of these rookies beginning to go off the board. Very surprising to see Terrace Marshall to go over Elijah Moore. I think Elijah Moore is 100% the rookie wide receiver that I actually want there. And now we have a donation coming out from Burgundy Bets. Says Cooks, Curtis Samuel, or Corey Davis. FK ADP. Okay, so here I'll say, man, I'm actually probably going to be going with a Corey Davis at this point. I probably need to adjust my rankings to show for this, but Corey Davis looked so strong during the preseason, and obviously this was a receiver that in that 2017 class had all the talent in the world. Yes, he was coming out of Western Michigan, so it was someone that, I'm sorry, maybe Central Michigan. I don't know. Regardless, I mean, he was someone that had a ton of talent at a very small program. Took him a little bit of time to develop to the NFL level, which you'd expect from a player that's coming from that small of a program. But I mean, at the end of the day, he had the frame, he had the talent to get drafted in the top 5 of the NFL draft. So I'm actually probably going to go with him, and honestly not going to be that, I'm not going to be overthinking it that much. And I'm going to try to build this team around 3 quarterbacks actually. So let's go with the Hollywood Brown here, and we can just get our quarterbacks at the very end. I know a lot of people are probably going, Mason, 3 quarterbacks. What the hell are you talking about? Guys, this is a league where you do not have access to the waiver wire, so you have to construct your roster in a little bit of a different format, knowing that, I mean, we're also going to see this be a league where you don't have to submit your starting lineup. Just the highest starting lineup gets submitted for you every week regardless. So it's going to be a little different, where here you need multiple tight ends, you need multiple quarterbacks. I would not advise you to do that in your regular draft, but this is going to be an 18-round draft, so you kind of know already this is not a regular draft. Okay, so now we have Jamal Williams, Henry Ruggs, Devontae Parker. Yeah, so we're taking Hollywood Brown here simply because I think that we can get a quarterback that we like in round 11. I think we can get a running back that we're fine with in round 11, and I know we cannot get a receiver. It's that simple. I've done enough of these drafts. We're closing in on 200 drafts so far this season where I know we're not getting a receiver in that range. So might as well just grab the receiver now, even if there are some other running backs that are maybe slightly more intriguing, and then we can get those other running backs in round 11. I mean, you got guys like Cole Beasley going after this. So I know a lot of people were probably surprised to see us go with a Hollywood Brown, but we need those receivers. You have to start 3 wide receivers, and you have that flex. So receivers are going to be literally gold in this format. And if you don't take that right away, you're just not going to have a shot at it. So we're going to take Hollywood Brown there. Now, Emmanuel Sanders going at the 10-12. So thank God we went with Hollywood Brown. I mean, imagine us going with the running back here and then seeing all these receivers go off the board. And we're just sitting there going, oh my God, what did we do? We made the worst mistake on the planet. And also, this is so good in explaining why we decided to go with some of these receivers here, like an Odell and a Robbie Anderson, instead of getting the Edwards, instead of getting the Josh Jacobs. I really did consider it. But the problem is, I think the running backs that you're going to see us be able to pull here in the 11th round, I mean, look at the guys that are going to be available right now. I mean, right now you actually have available Michael Carter, Zach Moss, James Conner, Tony Pollard, Kenny Drake. Literally, this is not me hiding the receiver position. This is just best available according to ADP. You have to scroll down here to find the receivers in Gabriel Davis, Nelson Aguilar, Hollywood Brown. So you're about to see probably a pretty big running back run happen, and I'm here for it, to be honest. Okay, so Mike Gesicki goes at the 1106. Not considering a tight end here when we do have a Travis Kelce. That is one position we can hide. So if we're going to hide Mike Gesicki, I'm going to imagine, oh my gosh, J.K. Ooper is going to have a hard time taking a running back. They went with Jamal Williams instead of a receiver in the last round. I'd imagine that's a draft pick they're probably regretting at this point. Yeah, you have to be regretting that pick at this point. So they go Zach Moss instead. They have 5 running backs, 4 receivers. Their only receivers are Woods, Deontay, Galladay, and Curtis Samuel. They do have the elite tight end and the elite quarterback. Here, we're just going to make the pick, James Conner. I mean, I think Conner could be someone that has a role in his offense. We did take Edmonds, though. So instead of getting Conner, we're just going to get a Kenyon Drake. I think Drake does make more sense for a team that we drafted Chase Edmonds on, because when we draft Chase Edmonds, we essentially say that we're already making a bet that Chase Edmonds wins that backfield, so there's no reason to hedge that bet with someone like a James Conner. Even though James Conner was the value available there, it just didn't necessarily make sense from a roster construction standpoint. So let's move this down for anybody just now getting into the live stream. I don't even know what we're going to be looking at here in the 12th. We could possibly go quarterback. I am very surprised to see Ryan Tannehill falling all the way to Caden at the 1104. Caden got some fantastic value on quarterbacks with Jalen Hurts and Tannehill here. That was awesome. Boom Roasted says, anyone know how to get the $250 drafts to show up? All you have to do is go over to the lobby on Underdog Fantasy, and it's the big dog draft. So like it's the tournaments at the very top. Like you see the Puppy 3, you see Best Ball Mania. It's called the Big Dog. It's a $250 entry. We're probably going to be doing that after this one. I'll probably wait a couple of rounds to check out what the lobby's looking like. If the lobby is just completely empty, then we will just probably go through and get another one of these, because I can't sit around in the lobby. I want to get as many drafts done as possible today, guys. Okay, so I kind of have an idea of what we're going to do at the 1205. Let's see if we can pull it off. Okay, so King Viewmead does have a need at running back. I mean, you could potentially see him go with like a Devin Singletary or Nyheim Hines here. And Skittins, I mean, this is also a team that is pretty heavy on running back. So they go AJ Green. That is very surprising to see them go with AJ Green when they only have 3 running backs. I think that's a mistake. I think you have to go Devin Singletary or Nyheim Hines. Okay, so Skittins, what are they going to do? They go Devin Singletary. So now we're going to get Trevor Lawrence. I know Lawrence is a full round behind Justin Fields in ADP. A, I have Trevor Lawrence ahead of my rankings. I like Lawrence more. B, we actually already made the bet with a James Robinson and a Marvin Jones. So we are getting a stack in here with Jacksonville, essentially making that one bet on that Jacksonville Jaguars offense, saying this is going to be an above average offense in 2021. Who knows if that actually comes true or not. But yeah, let's go through and show this off. Let me pull that back up. Jaggy says 4 more to start the big dog. Okay, guys, do not join the big dog draft real quick if you want me to get in it. Do not join that if you want me to get in. Yeah, because I have to finish this out. We're in round 12. I can't be just skidding out of this real quick. Johnny says, when does the next 5K draft start? 5K draft. What are you talking about, my man? If someone wants to be gracious and maybe send over some Bitcoin or something and we can get a 5K draft going, that'd be very exciting. I do not have the funds, sadly, to get a 5K draft, even though that would be very exciting. I guarantee if we got enough people in this live stream, like if every single person in this live stream right now, the 500 people went down there and used promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy, we could get a 5K draft going. I bet we could talk to some people and we could get that going. But the problem is, some of y'all are just haters out here, and y'all don't want to necessarily support the channel. That's the problem, my friends. Okay, so now we get Nyheim Hines at the 1209, James White at the 1210. we're at a spot where I don't even know like what we're kind of rooting for at this point. Obviously, we're rooting for tight ends to continue to get drafted, but we can build around a running back, wide receiver, or quarterback from here. I mean, also, when we go Lawrence at the 1205, we're either going to be taking like another quarterback right away. Like if we get someone in the Matt Ryan tier, like say we get Matt Ryan in the 14th, we'd be at a spot at that point where I think we would probably only be drafting 2 quarterbacks with this build. But instead, if we have to wait till the very end, maybe we get 3. So yeah, I don't even know what to root for. I'm just kind of watching the draft. And let's see if there are any intriguing teams so far. So you have Steve the Weave here. Looks like he has grabbed a couple of running backs early. Like he got CMC and Myles Gaskin. And he's only drafted 2 running backs so far. So this is a team that I can guarantee you is going to load up on some running backs a little later. Then you have a DSR, a very similar strategy. They get Dalvin, Sanders, Henderson, and I do not think they've drafted a running back since. Now, any other teams that went very thin on a single position, I am trying to search for. It looks like everybody else is a little more balanced. Debo here is yet to draft a tight end. I'll scroll down a little bit for anybody who's just now coming into the live stream wanting to see the entire draft. Yeah, if you were just now getting into the stream, guys, make sure you go down there, drop a like on the live stream. I shouldn't even be saying that. It looks like everybody at this point has dropped a like on the live stream. Looks like everybody has. Okay, so let's get this going. And Christian spamming the chat says, Mason draft versus me. Big fella, I send out the links to getting these drafts all the time. So you're getting muted real quick for going through and spamming the chat. Now let's pull this back up. What I'm actually going to do real quick is I'm just going to make it where you can only send one message. I'm going to make it where everybody can send only one message a minute, or at least one message every 20 seconds. Okay, so now from here, Matt Ryan does go at the 1306. If we would have gotten like a Will Fuller instead of a Michael Thomas, I think Tua Tagovailoa would have been in a very intriguing option here. I'm trying to think. Okay, so Tre'Quan Smith goes. How many receivers do we have? We have 6 receivers. We don't need to be reaching on the position. Like, is Tua the value? Like, if we get Tua here, the question is, are we done drafting quarterback? They have a separate bye. I don't necessarily think so. So instead, we're going to get a J.D. McKissic. I know a lot of people are going to be probably surprised to see us go with a McKissic over an Alexander Madison. And I'll say if we're playing like in the tournament style where we need the highest ceiling possible during the fantasy football playoffs, then we're probably going to go with an Alexander Madison. Instead, however, when we're just playing in this 12-man league and we only have to beat 12 other teams here, instead, I don't necessarily think that we have just the need to continue to chase upside at running back. So let's just get the floor that we know J.D. McKissic's going to have a role. He's going to get a lot of targets out of the backfield. I mean, you see other players with that same mold going right after with a Phillip Lindsay and a Giovanni Bernard. Baker Mayfield goes to the 1309. Very intriguing. So I'm assuming this is maybe a team that ended up taking an Odell Beckham Jr. Actually, no, we got Odell here. Did they take Jarvis Landry? Did they take Nick Chubb? Like, why are they taking Baker Mayfield over Tua Tagovailoa? Now, Cole Kmet, Hunter Henry, double tap in the tight end position here for Debo. Now let's switch this back over. Okay, so some more tight ends going off the board. That drastically helps us, guys. That really does help us. So now we're probably done at running back. We're done at running back. We need quarterback, receiver, tight end from here. Receiver's less intriguing because, like I said, we don't have the playoffs. We just have how many points can you score this upcoming season. So Rashad Bateman's a lot more intriguing for a league that does have the fantasy football playoffs, whereas points will matter more there. But if we're looking for points in weeks 1, 2, and 3 as well, I think that we're probably not considering Bateman. He goes anyway. Let's just draft the Tua Tagovailoa. I mean, he is falling about 17 picks behind his ADP. He's falling 17 picks behind his ADP. I think if we get Tua, we're going to be done drafting quarterbacks from here. Now we can just draft receiver, and we can bring in one more tight end. So here's the top of the draft. But let me give y'all a shout out real quick. This is ridiculous. Okay, I'm assuming we just have like the regulars out to the live stream. So I don't even want to say go down there and subscribe to the channel because I'd imagine at this point, maybe everybody watching this live stream is already subscribed. But I mean, the reason I'm saying that is I pull up the stream right now. We have 578 people watching and we have 450 likes. That is ridiculous. I don't know what y'all ate for breakfast this morning, but I don't think have like ever gotten that many likes this fast on a stream. That's only 2 drafts in. So thank you so much, my dudes. Thank you so much for everybody going down there and dropping a like. I guess we are getting more subscribers here. I guess somehow some of y'all watching this live stream are not subscribed to the channel just yet. Guys, if you aren't, I mean, we're live streaming every single night. We're going through making videos every single day. There's no better place to prepare for your 2021 fantasy football season. There's no better place to have a damn good time than the Fantasy Flock Network. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. We're probably going to get a $250 draft going after this one. Can't be for sure, though. Okay, so I just hopped in the $250 lobby to see how long we were going to have to wait for it to get filled, and we are the last spot. So that $250 draft just filled. So we're actually going to be pulling up the $250 draft. Y'all don't get the pleasure of seeing the last 3 rounds on this other draft. I apologize to everybody for this inconvenience, but we're going to be having to draft the rest of that draft on another screen. I'm sure y'all understand. I literally just hopped into the $250 lobby to try to figure out how many picks we had how many teams we needed to have to fill it. But instead, let me go and pull this back up. Okay, so in this $250 draft, we are going to be drafting at the 108, and we have some names that I am not used to seeing. We have some names in this $250 lobby that are a little scary. Okay, so never seen this name, never seen them. We drafted with them in a $250 draft last night. We have never seen them. We have never seen them. We drafted them in a $250 draft last night. We have never seen them. We have never seen them, and we have never seen them. So I'm assuming that, guys, if I'm ever assuming that we haven't seen someone in a $250 lobby, I'm kind of assuming that if you're entering into a $250 fantasy contest, you're a crusher. You are a very good drafter, and we honestly kind of need to be a little scared of you. That's my assumption. I mean, when we get in those $5 drafts, when we get in those $10 drafts, I'm stepping into the room and I'm going, I mean, guys, let's get this going. We know what we're doing here. We are going to crush some people. But in these $250 drafts, it's actually a little scarier where it's more so like, are we sure that we're going to be able to pull this off? Are we sure that we're going to be able to get this done? So let's get the pressure on. Let's get this going. And we're going to get another draft going after this tonight, my dudes. I mean, just looking at the clock right now, I'll get another $10 draft going after this one. I promise you about that. So just stick around. We'll get another draft going after this one if anybody else wants to join in. Now we have Ezekiel Elliott going at the 105. Let's switch this over really quick. Now we actually just drafted from the 108. So this is perfect. And we get one of the 3 players that we wanted to draft anyway. Aaron Jones goes to the 106. Zeke goes to the 105. This is set up perfectly for us to go through and build a dominant team, in my opinion. I mean, these are the guys that I wanted to fall. Davonte Adams goes to the 107. We're building this team exactly how we built the last one. And I have so much money. You would not believe how many leagues I've drafted Travis Kelce in the first round of these drafts. You would not believe me if I told you. So at this point, I'm looking at Kelce and I'm going, please, Lord, you took Etienne away from us. You took Cam Akers away from us. You took Dobbins away from us. I mean, Dobbins, I wasn't as in on Etienne or Akers that I was with Dobbins, but I will say that still, I had Dobbins in a considerable amount of leagues and I Gus Edwards nowhere. So you've already done us so dirty so far. It's been a very difficult fantasy season. Week 1 has not even kicked off. Keep Kelce safe. A 32-year-old tight end. Y'all know I'm an ageist. Y'all know I'm not the guy to go through and to roster those guys once they get to a certain point. But maybe we're going to make a mistake here. We're going to go get a Travis Kelce. And that's just too good a value to pass up on at the 108. I mean, I'm sometimes taking Kelce here at like the 105. It would have been, of course, beautiful if we had Davonte Adams fall to us. Y'all know how excited I would have been to see a Davonte Adams. Honestly, really happy to see this name in the draft because every time we see that name, I'm just kind of assuming that's a straight up punt. Okay, so Taylor goes at the 111. Okay, so now we don't necessarily get to run laps around the room screaming that we had the perfect start. We do not get Jonathan Taylor at the 205. That is a little disappointing. We can find another guy that we like, though. It looks like, I mean, receivers going off a little early. Okay, come on. What are we going to be looking at here? What are we going to be looking at? I'm kind of hoping one of these guys goes rogue. Old Man Pappy started with the Tyreek Hill. It actually looked like they took it down to the very last second where they almost auto-drafted a Tyreek Hill. Hopefully they're not on auto. Are they about to auto again? They auto again. They go Calvin Ridley. That sucks. I mean, obviously it would have been... I would have done a backflip off my desk if we started off with Kelsey Ridley. So Waller goes at the 204. I know y'all are going to hate it. And all I have to say is, it's my $250. If you think that you are better drafted than me, if you think that you've just seen me do 200 drafts so far this offseason, 200 real money fantasy football drafts, and I don't know how the draft board is going to fall to us later on, I mean, come out, join the live stream, get into some real money drafts with me. I'd be happy to have you. I'd be happy for you to come take my money. But now we are going to be taking a DK Metcalf at the 205. I'm very confident with the value that we can get later on. And if you don't necessarily agree with this, if you think I need to go with the running back, even though this is going to be a league where you have to start 3 wide receivers, it's going to be best ball, and we know how hungry these rooms get for wide receivers later on. I mean, just trust me, guys. I've done this a million times before. This isn't my first rodeo. So make sure you at least hold off any comments, hold off any judgments until we get to round 15. If we get to round 15 and we can look back and we can go, Mason, you are a bum. Why did you take a DK Metcalf at the 205? Then you can ask that. My dudes. Okay. Now let me pull up my other draft that we are in really quick. Yeah, the other draft that we were in, we did not get wide receiver early enough, and I just hated how that draft turned out. Okay, so A.J. Brown, Justin Jefferson, Najee Harris falling to the 210. Very rarely are you seeing him fall to the 210 anymore. I mean, that's a very surprising draft pick, to be honest. Okay, we took Hunter Renfrow in the other draft that we are currently in. And trust me, guys, I promise you, when we're going to be looking at the rounds 8, 9, 10, you're going to understand why we go with the DK Metcalf in the second. I know it's crazy seeing it right now when we don't see the rest of the draft board. But when we look back on this draft board with some hindsight, you're going to go, oh, that's why he did it. Oh, that's why he went with the DK Metcalf. And also, I mean, if we can get Russell Wilson, I'd be very excited. Okay, so we have Keenan Allen at the 302. George Kittle at the 303. Okay, so I will say this. Kittle at the 303, that is fantastic value. I'm honestly surprised to see George Kittle fall that far. I think at this point, with the injuries to the other tight ends that we have seen, I would actually probably rather go with a George Kittle compared to like a CeeDee Lamb or a Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I think that if I'm this Christian McCaffrey team, I'm most likely going with a George Kittle here no matter what. Burgundy Bet says, Mason, 2 beers and a game of pool, says, I crush you in the 10 others and a $100 draft next. Your move. Also, how many of those blue blazers you have? My man, if I told you how many of these blue blazers I had, I would be laughed off the face of the planet. And that's the cold hard truth about it. So that would probably require an $800 donation at the minimum to get the truth out of me on. So we're going to ignore that question. We'll go through and $100 draft. I promise you, man, I know that you're out in this live stream very, very often. I will get at least one more $100 draft going with everybody before the season. I promise you. I don't know if we can do it tonight because we just got in a $250 draft. I don't know if we can. I know what we can do here, however, is we can lock the hell in Robert Woods. Well, let's get Robert Woods at the 308, no question. And then, so I don't know if we can do a $100 draft. I will 100% get a $100 draft going at least tomorrow or Wednesday. I promise you on that. But because we already got in a $250 draft, I apologize, but the next draft we do is probably going to be $10. The next draft we do is probably 10. Okay. We have Sam says, you need a burnt orange blazer. You have no idea. The most common comment I get from like my family or anybody in real life that knows the YouTube channel, they go, you need other clothes. You need a different color blazer. You wear the same color every single video. And I go, that's my style. It's my style. It's my thing. Big thing is, guys, I mean, I make so many decisions every single day. The last thing I ever want to have to decide is what I wear. The last thing I ever want to have to decide is what I wear. I mean, I'm sitting here making probably 10,000 decisions a day. It just, what I wear is so far down the ladder. And honestly, that's why I wear the suit. I was saying this the other day, but it's just the easiest thing ever that I know. If I put this on, I'm in video mode. I'm coming out. We're recording some videos. We're getting on the live stream. T. Higgins goes at the 401. Kyle Pitts at the 312. And this is a And this is an experienced drafter here. So I'm assuming they take Higgins, thinking that there are not many teams with the combo that have Stephon Diggs and Saquon Barkley. So they're looking for a little bit of a unique build. Intriguing. It's going to be good for us because I like some of these other wide receivers that we could be looking at. So we have a Lockett going at the 402. Of course, people are going to be bumping up Lockett for the overall spike week potential that you could see. Okay, so Sarah says, hoping to make it into a draft with you tonight. Last night of evacuation in MS, and I can't play in NOLA. Okay, so I will say, if you are in, so you're in New Orleans. Okay, so yeah, I know New Orleans can't play on Underdog, but please, I am ignorant. Let me know how you are doing. I have no idea. I have no idea. I know that it wasn't necessarily as bad as people were afraid it was going to be. I know everything mainly held up, but please, I'd love to know how you're doing. Okay, so DJ Moore goes at the 403. Guys, y'all know, send it up. Send it up. Send up that prayer. Give us our guy. Give us our guy here. He goes Godwin. I can't complain too much. Godwin was at the top of ADP, so, I mean, you're going to be sitting here going, Mason, how the hell are you complaining? Godwin was at the top of ADP. And I know a lot of people are saying, oh, Mason, great, you get Chris Carson falling to you in the middle of the 4th round. You can take Chris Carson in the middle of the 4th. That's fantastic now, right? I mean, you decided to pass on running back through the first 3 rounds. I mean, aren't you excited to get Chris Carson in the middle of the 4th? And what I say to those people telling me that, that's what I say to them. That's what I say to them right now. We're going to go Julio Jones as our wide receiver 3. I'm going to be very excited about going with the Julio Jones every single time I'm at this 3-4 turn, knowing the receivers that are going to be available to us in the 5th and 6th rounds. I'm going with the receiver here in the 4th. Okay, Teresa says, I'm here tonight. We don't have power, but I'm here. Teresa is out. Teresa, you don't know. I was literally telling my girlfriend, I was like, okay, Teresa, someone that makes it out to the live stream every single night. Teresa was out in the live stream. If you all don't know this, every single night for probably like 2 weeks ago, Teresa lives in Louisiana and told us that they were obviously having that hurricane, and we wished her luck. And I had not heard from Teresa for probably about 7 to 10 days now. So I'm so happy to see you out in the live chat. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for just coming out. I'm just happy to see you. It makes my night. Okay, so now I know everybody's going to be squirming that we decided to take a Julio Jones here, but let's go through and just wait it out, guys. Let's wait it out. Let's wait it till the 12th round and see how this plays. So James Robinson at the 411. I probably would have gone Robinson over Carson, to be honest. If I was going to go with the running back, that's what I would have done. T Money says, could have super stacked with DK, Carson, and Wilson. LOL. I swear to God, I thought that. I swear that I thought that. And I mean, I just know that people are going to go, oh, Mason, are you sure about that? Blah, blah, blah. No, a big thing is, I think that those elite quarterbacks, I'm not going to be as excited about drafting when we have a Travis Kelce. And this has to be a bad pick here. To go with the Gus Edwards when you can have Lamar Jackson to stack with a Mark Andrews. Getting a running back here does not make much sense at all when you already have Christian McCaffrey and Clyde Edwards-Helaire on this team. This was a mistake. I mean, I hate this one-on-one team. Like, to be completely honest, to take a Gus Edwards here, I think that has to be a big-time mistake. Now we got Claypool at the 504. Oh my gosh, this Gus Edwards pick. I cannot get behind that at all. Okay, now let's pull this up. Got Kyler Murray at the 505. So I kind of already know what we're doing with this next selection. I can't really say anything, of course, because it's a $150 draft, and we are up in 2 picks. Okay, so Jay Chugger here goes Mahomes and Josh Allen. That's a straight up punt. Mike Davis goes here. And honestly, I know that y'all are going to hate this. A lot of people in the chat will understand it. A lot of people in the chat won't understand it. I don't care if you do or not. We're going to go. Actually, I'm so sorry. We didn't see Lamar Jackson here. We didn't see Lamar Jackson. For a second, I thought that this was also a Lamar Jackson. I thought that was the last elite quarterback on the team. Yeah, so we were going to at least go with a wide receiver there if it was available to us. But no, we're going to go with Lamar at the 508. I think Lamar is actually an option that you don't need to stack. And I think very few quarterbacks in fantasy this year have the ceiling that a Lamar Jackson does. And I'm actually going to be looking at Lamar Jackson. He's my quarterback too. in a 4-point passing touchdown format. Based on what we saw in 2019, where he was literally like 20% better than the next best quarterback. And I know his touchdown rate was ridiculous and was unsustainable, but still, I mean, I think that the rushing is based on what we saw season to season. Lamar Jackson going to be at the 508 for me. They significantly invest into the wide receiver core this past season. I mean, I really like going through and getting a Lamar Jackson at the 508. Now we get old man Pappy coming out here and taking a receiver at Jamar Chase. Okay, Devonta Smith goes to the 5'11". So Smith has been someone that's been rising up and up and up these draft boards. I mean, to see him go, and if y'all want to make fun of me for not drafting a running back through the first 5 rounds so far, can y'all at least, like, here's what I want you to do. That hate that you are about to send in my direction, like, write down like a little mean, angry letter. Let's say like, Mason, I'm so mad. Mason, you don't know how to play fantasy. Mason, yes, you've been in 200 real money fantasy drafts this year. Yes, Mason, you do it 24 hours a day. Yes, Mason, you do put up your money to have us potentially come and take it if we think we're better than you. With all of that being said, you're an idiot. You don't know what you're doing. If you want to write out that note, you want to fold it up, put it in an envelope. Instead of sending that over to me, how about you send that to old man Pappy here, who's drafted 5 receivers in a row where we only have 3. We have an elite tight end. We have an elite quarterback. Okay, so let's see what elite Pappy does decide to do. I would not be surprised if he goes Odell Beckham Jr. here. I'm telling you, do not be surprised if he does it. You see an Odell. I don't know if it's an auto pick. I don't know what it is, but it's Odell. Okay, at this point, Darrell Henderson goes to the 605. You know that letter that you were going to send me? Go ahead, take that letter, and you can send it. Send it to my address. You can send it, telling me how stupid I am. But this is a league where you start 3 receivers. You have a flex at the same time. We know how quickly the wide receiver position dries up, and at the same time, it's best ball. So while, yes, we have 4 wide receivers in this team, we do not have a single running back. Understand that we are still filling our starting lineup requirements. We are not going overboard in the slightest. If you were to tell me that in this $250 draft, we would start through the first 6 rounds with a combination of Lamar Jackson at quarterback, at receiver Metcalf, Woods, Julio, Robbie Anderson, and then we have Travis Kelce at tight end, I would sign up for that 10 times out of 10. Okay. Yeah, let's go through and let's get this going. And right now, I don't like a lot of teams in this league. I mean, taking a Rodgers in the 6th here, that seems extremely rich. A big thing that we also have to focus in on is possibly quarterbacks get pushed up this draft board just slightly. Looking at it as we have this team in Jay Chugger, they draft both a Patrick Mahomes and a Josh Allen here in the 4th and 5th round. So if they're taking both of the elite quarterbacks off the board, that is going to put someone else in a position where they may not necessarily be able to go out there and get that same level talent. So I'm very interested to see what we're going to have from other teams in this league at quarterback. Now, if y'all didn't make it out to another $250 draft we did the other night, I mean, it was just last night. It was ridiculous with the amount of quarterbacks that one team drafted. One team came in the draft and they just completely punted their team away and took quarterback after quarterback after quarterback after quarterback. Like, they pretty much donated $250 to the league pot. It was ridiculous. And there we actually were able to just soak up, 2 quarterbacks at the very end of the tier and had everybody else reach on a lot of guys. So that was kind of nice. Maybe getting a Lamar in the 5th is great here. Some other teams possibly have to reach on quarterback based on these teams. Now we're getting the wide receiver run happening. Hey, y'all see this? Y'all see this big ass head? Y'all see this right here? Look at it from the side profile. Y'all think that big head is just for show? No, there's a big old brain in there at the same time. Get Chase Edmonds going at the 705. Let's pull this up. We're going to get our first running back at pick 80. And let's see who it's going to be. Okay, so I'm assuming a lot of people want us to see Trey Sermon. Kareem Hunt's my guy here, big fellas. Kareem Hunt, such an easy pick at the 708 as someone that has a role on his offense where he's going to be getting started in our starting lineup no matter what. And at the same time, he has that elite level upside. Like, say if something happened to Nick Chubb. If something happens to Nick Chubb, who is beating this team? There's $100,000 at the end if you don't know how this league is actually going through and getting filled. This is going to be a tournament style where you have your 12-man league. You get first, second, or third in your 12-man league, then you get paid. But at the same time, if you get first or second, you get a ticket to the tournament for the fantasy football playoffs, where there's like $100,000 on the top. There's $50,000. There's $25,000. I mean, there's obviously just an absurd amount of money all the way down the line. So you're looking for the highest ceiling possible. So this team, I think, actually has it in the range of outcomes. If something were to occur to a Nick Chubb, this team could win the $100,000. And that's what we're looking for. Now we have Roto Heat, the same team that took Wilson at the 602. They grabbed Jalen Hurts at the 711 before Justin Herbert. They take Jalen Hurts here where you had no worries. I know they want to stack with a Devonta Smith. I know they wanted to stack Russell Wilson with a Tyler Lockett, but that doesn't necessarily mean you need to reach this much on these players. Why don't you just take some other guy here at the 711, knowing that for 100% sure you're getting Jalen Hurts falling to you at the 802? That's not something I understand. But let's pull this back up. Let's look at what we are going to be trying to figure out. I know a lot of people want to see it. I don't know if we can do it. I don't know if we can do it, boys. Boys and girls. I apologize. Just the pressure is on. There's one player in particular that I'm praying falls to us. Mostert goes to the 802. Completely fine with that one. Give us our guy here. Old Man Peppy. Actually, maybe on auto. I may have completely forgotten he's on auto. I don't know what Underdog does in terms of auto drafting you if you already have 6 receivers. Are they giving him another receiver? He's on auto draft in a $250 league. Let's see this. They give him another receiver here. Okay, so the 2-horse has only 2 guys in. Oh my God. If we would have gotten Corey Davis falling to us, it would have been game over for y'all. It would have been, oh my gosh. Just imagine if that would have happened. I would have probably done a backflip. I've never done one, but I would have at least attempted it. Probably just going to get Jalen Waddle here. We're going to be bringing in a receiver that we do think has some elite level spike week potential. So let's get a Jalen Waddle. And I just think that receivers are going to continue to go off. I promise you guys, you are about to see a massive receiver run happen here. I wouldn't be surprised if the only running back that goes off the board would be like an A.J. Dillon here at the 811. I would not be surprised by that in the slightest. So let's get Waddle. Corey Davis would have been... It would have been wild. Of course, we can't consider taking Corey Davis over Kareem Hunt at that point. Of course, we can't do that. But it was very close. Rip Kobe says, what's the hair product that gives your hair that hold and shine, brother? My man, I probably have never put a product in my hair in my entire life. I didn't start brushing my hair until probably about 2 years ago. All I do is brush it directly back, and then it falls. Big fella. Okay, but now we get Dallas Goedert, Logan Thomas. We love to see tight ends going off the board when we have Kelsey. We love to see these receivers going off the board. Okay, so Justin Herbert does go at the 811. Get some new people subscribing to the channel. And guys, if you are just now subscribing, what are you doing? We do real money fantasy football drafts every single night. We are out here grinding these drafts through. We have drafted a real money fantasy draft on a live stream every single day for like 5 weeks now. We're going to be live streaming every single night during the season. We're going to be pumping out videos, waiver wires, start sit, weekly rankings, trade targets. The whole 9 yards. Just make sure you go down there, subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Make sure you hit the bell next to the subscribe button. So yeah, now you actually see what helps us a lot. We want to see these elite quarterbacks going, and like a Justin Herbert, we want to see these tight ends going when we have a Kelsey, and we want to see these wide receivers going. So this has been best case scenario so far. Oh my gosh, this 101 team is absurd right now. They're taking Jamal Williams at the 901. They have CMC, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Gus Edwards. What is going on? These $250 drafts. Like, if I were y'all on a live stream right now, I would go, this is a $250. Are we sure that Mason didn't just set this up before the stream and put a bunch of random computer bots in here and tell us the $250 draft? No, this is literally the big dog draft right now on Underdog Fantasy. This is, oh my gosh. Okay, Rondell Moore, Marvin Jones. We need to pull this up, figure out who we're drafting. Curtis Samuel is falling. Okay, so Jay Chugger here. This is a team that I don't think has ever drafted on underdog before. I would be surprised if they have. They've had 4 running backs. They took, that was a surprising thing to pull up. I mean, only having 1 receiver through the first 8 rounds, and you took Mahomes and Allen on the same team. Oh my gosh. I don't know what we'd be looking at. Okay, so Bay Harbor Butcher on the clock. They have Rodgers at... Guys, oh my, we need like some music. We need some like flashing lights out here when something happens like this so we can get like a dance party going. Oh my gosh. Our running back 2, bringing him in. This would have been the only other player I would have considered at this. I mean, this would have been the running back I would have drafted in the 8th if we were going to draft a running back. AJ Dillon at the 908. You never see that. You never see that ever. Oh my gosh. Let's go through and show off this team. At tight end, we have the God, Travis Kelce. We have Lamar Jackson at quarterback. Then from here, we slammed receivers. Metcalf, Woods, Julio, Robbie, Waddle. Still coming away with Kareem Hunt, AJ Dillon at running back. We're not done here. We're not done here. We're going for as much upside as humanly possible. So you know we're going to be drafting more running backs, but I mean, this team already has the upside. What's so great about Kareem Hunt and AJ Dillon is they have the roles on their offense. I mean, they are going to be getting touches every week. Kareem Hunt, we already seen his role. He's someone that you can play as a running back too. AJ Dillon, he's going to be stepping into that Jamal Williams role. However, if something happens to Aaron Jones, if something happens to Nick Chubb, who is beating this team? Nobody is beating this team right now. Oh my gosh. Okay, so Curtis Samuel goes at the 9-10. Also love to see Higbee. And Higbee goes, let's look at this. The horse has drafted Waller, Hawkinson, and Higbee on the same team. So we're going to see some other teams here have to reach on tight end. This draft, this could not go better for us. There's no way in hell this draft could have ever gone any better than it has so far. Okay, so Stark Kindler takes a Devontae Parker at the 9-12. Now let's go pull this back up. Zach Moss at the 10-01. Y'all know I do not like to see Zach Moss off the board. That is our guy. Zach Moss is our guy. I will admit that. Okay, so Old Man Pappy. I guess this guy's still on auto. Who did it auto for him last round? It autoed him Curtis Samuel. Okay, so Elijah Moore. So we're assuming that's going to auto him Noah Fant here possibly. Ross Inns coming out with the donation. Thank you, my man. I'll get to that question in 1 second. Okay, so what are we doing here? What are we doing here? I know where I'm going. I know where I'm going. This mother effa better not snipe us again. He took Corey Davis from us. He took Davis from us. Don't do it again. He takes Lance. I know it seems like a reach, guys. Trust me. You don't need to tell me. But I think we're going Jacoby Myers. It's either Jacoby Myers or Melvin Gordon. We'll go Melvin Gordon. We'll go Melvin Gordon just to silence the haters. Just to silence the haters. We'll get Melvin Gordon coming in. Oh, I wanted to go Myers, though. I thought we were drafting Myers in the 10th round, to be honest. So, yeah, now we get Melvin Gordon. Keep in mind, we do not have to submit a starting lineup. So, these guys, they can just cycle through as our running back 1, running back 2, just throughout the entire season based on how they're performing. So, yeah, that's a pick that we don't love for the playoff tournament at the end. But, I mean, I think that we kind of need some guaranteed touches at the running back position to start the season, though. Okay, so Ross Inns comes out and says, Waddle, Jamal Williams, or Russell Gage at my flex in a half PPR league for week 1. Let's hear a classic flock deep analysis on this, please. Okay, my man, thank you, of course, so much for coming out and supporting the channel. I will say it's going to be Russell Gage. I mean, Russell Gage going up against the Philadelphia Eagles. And keep in mind, if I get any of these matchups wrong, please remember, I mean, we are so far away from week 1, and I already have all these, at least I hope, memorized. But yeah, Russell Gage going up against the Philadelphia Eagles. There, we don't necessarily know exactly what we're going to expect in terms of just Arthur Smith coming in as a new head coach. We don't necessarily know exactly what the target breakdown is going to look like, or even really the pace of the overall offense. However, I think that just betting on Russell Gage is going to be a lot better than Jamal Williams against the 49ers, where we've actually had the 49ers as a heavy favorite, according to Las Vegas, for week 1. This, I mean, just... it's going to be tough for Detroit. So I'm not playing Jamal Williams. Jalen Waddle, a rookie. I understand that Will Fuller is going to be suspended week 1. However, I think Russell Gage is going to be a significantly better play. And then we get Tannehill, Burrow. We have another donation coming out, says from Brian. Thank you, my man. Says, who should I start at my flex? Hunt, Deontay, or Brandon Cooks? I'll say Brandon Cooks going up against Jacksonville. It's going to be a decent matchup. Deontay Johnson going up against Buffalo. Well, yes, that's going to be a tough matchup. And actually, Pittsburgh's not supposed to put up a lot of points this week. I mean, you are looking at it where Deontay Johnson's just going to get a lot of targets. Kareem Hunt going up against, I want to say, maybe an average matchup where he's going up against the Chiefs, where you're looking at it saying, well, maybe they get behind. Maybe they use Kareem Hunt a little more in the passing game. No, just go with Deontay Johnson. If we're playing in a PPR format, Deontay Johnson's going to be the play. Okay, so Emmanuel Sanders goes at the 11:05. And I'm not a massive fan of Deontay Johnson, to be honest, but we need to stop talking. We need to instead pull up this board where we are most likely going to go with the running back. So yeah, we're going to go with the running back. We should have gone probably with Jacoby Myers in the last round. We probably should have gone Jacoby Myers. So now between Carter, Pollard, and Carter, I think that we are probably just going to go James Conner. Let me double check real quick. Of course, I need to look at my rankings. I need to look at my exposures. We don't have that much time to do all that. Let's instead just go James Conner. Yeah, I know James Conner's below them in ADP. But so far at running back, we got a lot of guys that I think do have upside in small roles on their offenses. But if anything were to occur, I mean, they could step up into massive roles. They do profile to be 3-down running backs. We've seen 3 of them be 3-down running back workhorses before. And we know one of them based out of Boston College. I mean, he was someone that was a 3-down workhorse. So I think this roster is perfect. This is like a beautiful team. This is a beautiful $250 draft. Okay, so now James Conner at the 11:08, Michael Carter at the 11:09. Let me pull this back up. Connor says, hey, Mason, should I put Hunt or Juju in my flex? Personally, I would probably go with a Juju Smith-Schuster if we're playing in a PPR format. If we're going non-PPR, I'd probably go with a Kareem Hunt, thinking that he has slightly more touchdown appeal. So yeah, we're going to go with a Juju Smith-Schuster, however, even though it's not a great matchup. Okay, Tua Tagovailoa goes at the 12:01. A little early for Tua. But, I mean, if you're going to be that far away from your next pick, maybe you just kind of have to go out there and you can't afford to do anything else. So Old Man Pappy, I mean, this guy's been on auto. And I'll say he's been on auto, and I honestly kind of like his team, even though I know a lot of y'all are going to hate it. And guys, if for whatever reason you have not subscribed to the channel yet, make sure you go down there, subscribe to the channel. Nobody is pumping out as much content as we are, putting as much research or just doing anywhere close to the amount of work that we are. So make sure you go down there, subscribe to the channel. And we are going to hit, I mean, if everybody down there in the live stream right now subscribed to the channel that wasn't subscribed, we'd hit 34,000 subscribers on this stream right now. Okay, so now from here, okay, yeah, I think we have an easy pick. I'm going to just wait 1 second to make sure. Yeah, we have an easy pick. We're going to go Gabriel Davis. Jonnu Smith is a good value as well, but the problem is when we take Kelsey, we're banking on Kelsey being healthy all year. If Kelsey gets hurt, then this team's toast anyway. There's no shot we win the $100,000. So yeah, let's go Gabriel Davis at the 12:05. Let's go through and show off this team so far. We are drafting at the 108 here, the 108. And of course, this is a $250 draft. So if you want to pause it, if you want to take a screenshot, and also keep in mind, we do not have the waiver wire. We do not have access to submitting a starting lineup each and every week. That is going to change some things with, I mean, teams drafting multiple quarterbacks, teams drafting multiple tight ends. So definitely keep in mind that a roster construction is a little bit different than what you would actually have for just a standard fantasy football league. Whereas, I mean, a perfect example is when we take a Kelsey, when we take a Lamar in a regular fantasy football league, I'm never drafting another tight end. I'm never drafting another quarterback. But here you are going to see us draft another tight end and another QB. While it will be very late, I mean, you definitely will see us make that pick. Okay, so now let me pull this back over. Burgundy Bet says, watch Old Man take down the 100K. That would be really funny if Old Man Pappy came out and like all of a sudden Ezekiel Elliott gets hurt, Trey Sermon takes over as the starting running back by week 3, and he just crushes the field. I'd be surprised. I'd be surprised though. Okay, and also, guys, if you are new to the live stream and you don't know what's going on right now, we are drafting on Underdog Fantasy. This is where we draft every single night. This is my favorite place to draft fantasy football leagues in 2021. They're going to be doing so many fun things during the season as well, and we'll be live streaming a lot of the stuff that they're doing as well. So definitely take advantage of probably the best offer that you're ever going to find from a fantasy football perspective, and it's not going to be here that long. Make sure you go to the description of the video and deposit $10 on Underdog Fantasy. This is where we're drafting every single night, my favorite place to play. And when you deposit $10, you actually get $25 added to your account when you use promo code FLOCK. And hear me out on this. You get our rankings, our draft guides, our tiers. I mean, you get so much, like a $90 value for making a $10 deposit with promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy. So make sure you take advantage of that. And now here we got to, we should not have waited this long. I think Matt Ryan's actually going to be the play. No, Matt Ryan isn't the play. Oh, we waited way too long, boys. We waited way too long. We're going to go Matt Ryan, and we're only drafting 2 quarterbacks. We're going to go Matt Ryan. We're only drafting 2 options. I mean, we did not get a stack on this team. It does suck. That was I don't want to say a panic pick. I don't think it was an optimal pick, though. I don't think it was an optimal pick. I think waiting a little longer would have been better. I mean, Alexander Madison, the other player that we would have considered, does go at the 1309. But yeah, let's bring in Matt Ryan. We know Matt Ryan's going to have a very high floor from the quarterback position. So probably need to stop reading the chat as much and instead probably try to get over here and look more so at what we were actually doing in the $250 draft. And we'll get another draft going after this, my dudes. We'll probably get a $10 draft going after this one. But Madison goes at the 1309. Old man Pappy, what are they going to auto draft him here? Rashad Bateman. Oh my gosh. Okay, so this is like a $250 donation to the league pot, to be honest. And this is by far and away the best team that I've ever seen from Justin McChan. I mean, usually he's just punting wide receiver in these middle rounds, and the team looks gross. But this is by far and away the best team that I've ever seen from him. And it's not even remotely close, to be honest. Kenneth Gainwell at the 1311. Oh my gosh, Kenneth Gainwell there. Okay, Diamond Brown at the 1401. Let's switch this back over. And I will get to that donation in 1 second. Thank you so much. Just want to make sure that we get our next pick in and we don't necessarily have to worry about it. Okay, I think I know where we're going to go. Yeah, I got 2 players that I think we're looking at. Let me pull up the draft board real quick just to make sure they haven't gone. Probably shouldn't have said that. Okay, let's pull this back up. Okay, the 2 horse. This is someone that's been sniping us so far this draft. He has 4 receivers. Okay, so he kind of has to go with the receiver here. So he goes Fitzmagic. Very surprised to see that. There are 2 players that I'm kind of considering. Okay, there are 2 players I'm considering. I'm going to keep my lips shut on who the other option is going to be. But for this round, we're going to go with Amaro St. Brown, and we're just going to leave it at that. We need another receiver. I'm afraid of the teardrop coming soon. So let's bring in Amaro St. Brown. Yeah, I think we need to be afraid of another teardrop coming. Let me show off the draft board, and we're going to be getting to that donation really quick from in. And in says, who should I take at 4 in a 14-team half PPR? If I don't go Derek or Devontae, Zeke or Saquon, am I crazy for kind of wanting Taylor? Yeah, man, I think it's too hard to take a Jonathan Taylor there. I mean, Taylor in a full PPR, I'd be fine with you taking over a Derrick Henry. I'd be fine with you taking him over like an Ezekiel Elliott. At this point, no. In a half PPR, you are going to want to go with Henry. You are going to want to go with Zeke. So I'll say if you're going in a half PPR format, the guy that I would actually probably prefer there is going to be a Derrick Henry in a 14-team league. We know that's going to be a lot harder to find those running backs. So I'd go with the Derrick Henry. In a full PPR, I'm completely fine going with like a Saquon Barkley. So in a half PPR in particular, how I'm ranking this is Derrick Henry. Then we're going to go Ezekiel Elliott. Then we'll go most likely Saquon Barkley, Jonathan Taylor. And then I honestly probably not going to really want Davonte Adams at the 104. Okay, Stevenson goes right after us. Stevenson was the player I was hoping that was going to make it back to us at the middle of the 15th round. Okay, so Stevenson goes. That does suck. I think we needed a receiver there, and I was fine with the running back options that were going to come back. I hope that helped. And Richard coming out says, Davonte Adams, Keenan Allen, Robert Woods, Brandon Ayuk, Laviska Shenault, Barkley, Edwards, Javonte, A.J. Dillon, Mark Andrews, Dallas Goedert, 10-team good. 10-team league. I was trying to map out how this went. Adams in the first, then somehow you get Barkley in the second. Somehow you get Keenan Allen in the third. Woods in the fourth. Edwards in the fifth. We're assuming Javonte in the sixth. Ayuk in the seventh. And where did you get Andrews into that mix? That is a fantastic team, my man. I'll say I'm definitely looking to sell Gus Edwards. Don't necessarily love the value that Gus Edwards has in fantasy right now. I think he's probably a little overvalued. So that would be a play that I'm looking to make. Okay, so now Bay Harbor Butcher on the clock after, I mean, they take a Ramondre Stevenson when they only have 5 receivers. This team is dead. Like, this was the easiest $250 draft we've ever done. He takes Carson Wentz. We're going to go Randall Cobb. We're going to go Randall Cobb, and I'm willing to put the stamp on it. This is, I think, the easiest $250 draft we've ever done. Let me go through and show off this team. Kelsey at tight end, Lamar Jackson at quarterback. We are literally, I mean, by far and away, if we're looking at tight end and quarterback, the best team in the league. I mean, obviously, Jay Chunger here, I mean, he's crushing us with Mahomes and Allen. But, I mean, that combo is deadly. We're at receiver. We have Metcalf, Woods, Julio, Robbie, Waddle, Davis, Amara St. Brown, Randall Cobb. And then at running back, we have Hunt, Dillon, Melvin Gordon, James Conner. And then we also have Matt Ryan at quarterback. Yeah, I love this team so far. The 2-horse passes on wide receiver again, goes with the J.D. McKissick. McKissick would have been someone I was considering. Now here, old man Pappy, I mean, if he's on auto, he's going to be getting, I believe, Damian Williams. He should be getting Damian Williams. James says, why did you delete all the 2020 videos? If y'all weren't here with the last season, what we do is after the following week, I don't know if we're going to do this year because we're a little bigger, so it doesn't necessarily matter as much in the algorithm. But a big thing with just the YouTube algorithm is you don't want them recommending videos that aren't going to get clicked on. So like the last thing that I wanted is if we were in week 6, a week 3 waiver wire video to get recommended in the algorithm to a new user. And if that user is not going to click on a week 3 waiver wire video because we're in week 6, of course they're not, then YouTube actually degrades the overall channel with the algorithm. And we were just a tiny channel last year. So we definitely needed to make sure that we were maximizing us going through and just getting pumped out to new listeners in the algorithm. Now we're bigger. That was literally something that I had crossed my mind today. Like, do we need to do that same thing this year? Or can we just leave them up? We'll probably leave them up this year, to be honest. Now let's pull this back up. And guys, if you were asking if you were asking 2021 rankings questions in the live chat right now, I will tell you that literally all you have to do is go make a $10 deposit on Underdog Fantasy, and you will see all of our 2021 rankings. And you don't have to ask a single question, my friends. You don't have to ask a single question. Zach Wilson going, just making sure we scroll through this entire list because, I mean, this ADP list isn't that good considering the fact it's the $250 drafts, and there are not that many that get kicked off every week. I mean, every day. We're not considering quarterback here. We're running back, wide receiver, tight end. I think we're actually going to probably surprise some people, and we're going to go with the Chuba Hubbard. I really love Chuba Hubbard's upside this season. And in this build, when we have $100,000 on top, and that's what we're kind of chasing. I mean, yes, we can get a higher floor with going someone like Latavius Murray, going someone like a David Johnson. What I'm looking for is ceiling. I'm looking for best ceiling available on this team, and I think that's going to be available to us with a Chuba Hubbard at the 1605, and we're honestly done drafting running backs. I know people are going to hate here, but we're done drafting running backs. Blake Jarwin goes at the 1605. Actually, when we wait this long, we may be able to draft another one because we're only taking 2 quarterbacks. We're only taking 2 tight ends. So yeah, this is going to be a build that we actually probably go 6 running backs and then 10 receivers. Yeah, so we'll draft another running back. Richard says, your rankings had me kill a draft. My man, I'll say, I've been breaking down a ton of drafts over there on Patreon as of late. And yeah, I've seen y'all are absolutely destroying drafts. I was actually sharing like the rankings with some people I know in real life and saying literally just take these. If you copy exactly from these in your 2021 draft and you're just going up against like your friends, if you're going up against people who don't necessarily just think about fantasy football 24 hours a day, you are going to crush them. It's not even going to be funny. Like, it's not even going to be fair, like the team you walk away with. And guys, if you want those rankings, literally all you have to do is go to the description of the video. You'll see the link to sign up for Underdog Fantasy. Go make that $10 deposit. When you make that $10 deposit on Underdog Fantasy, use promo code FLOCK. You get $25 added to your account. You get our 2021 rankings. I mean, you get the entire draft guide. You get hundreds of pages of information. That's like an $80, $90 value. And you support the channel more than you would ever believe. So please make sure you go out there and do that. Now, Darnold at the 1703. Let's pull this back over. Darius Slayton at the 1704. Yeah, so if my math is correct, we can afford in this draft with 20 rounds to go 10 receivers, 6 running backs, 2 quarterbacks, 2 tight ends. So that's probably what we're going to do here. I mean, Mac Jones is like such a good value. It kind of does make me upset that we ended up taking like a Matt Ryan earlier on. Go Latavius Murray at the 1706. Not a big deal about that. And this team here literally has to... This team right here, I'm sorry to say this, some teams just have no idea how to draft on Underdog, do they? They just completely killed that team. Now we're going to come away with most likely... I think that we just get Adam Chapman here, don't we? Yeah, because I know the Chiefs have a bye week in week 12. So let's go Adam Chapman. So that's going to be our second tight end. So now we're only running back and receiver from here on out. So yeah, there are multiple teams here that I think are completely dead. Like this team with only 5 receivers is just toast. This team here is also toast. The 106 and the 107, when we don't have access to the waiver wire and we're playing in this format, they're not getting away with this wide receiver depth. And I'm not saying this because I'm salty or anything. I'm kind of happy that they donated $500 to the league pot, to be honest. But those teams are just dead. I was so surprised to see Latavius Murray, Tevin Coleman selections there. I mean, we shouldn't necessarily been that surprised when a team took Mahomes and Allen on the same team. We should have probably marked them down saying they didn't necessarily know what they were doing. And also, Old Man Pappy here, this team is dead as well. There was $750 just donated to this league pot. Well, there were legitimately just $750 donated to this league pot. That's why I'm trying to get in these drafts. That's my number one, I think, lesson that we've actually learned so far in drafting in 2021 is that just because it's a higher buy-in, that doesn't mean they're necessarily smarter drafters. I think the $10 drafts that we do are a lot tougher than these drafts, to be honest. Demi says, rate team, please. Happy PR Superflex on IG. I'm so sorry. I will go through and I'll look at, please message me right now on Instagram. Say, hey man, this is Demi. I donated on live stream. Can you look at my team? Message me. I'm not going to be able to pull it up on the live stream. We're not doing that this year. I'm sorry, guys. I break down teams every single day on Patreon. I just can't be pulling up teams like that on the live stream. Now let me pull this over. And we have us. We're going to be on the clock in 3 picks. I think we're probably going to go with the receiver. You know what? We made a massive mistake there with Adam Chapman. Pat Freiermuth was the pick. That was a bad move by me. Old Man Pappy, are they getting... Underdog has to give them a running back here, don't they? Is Underdog really going to... Underdog is ruthless, giving the auto draft team Dwayne Eskridge. Is this team a punt too? At receiver, they have Evans, Godwin. At least they go Olamide Zaccheaus. They go Waller, Hawkinson, Higbee. This team could be a punt. Not as much as the other teams. Yeah, we're just going to go Donovan Peoples-Jones here. You're never really getting Donovan Peoples-Jones falling to the 1805 anymore. Okay. So now let's pull this back over. And we got a donation coming out from Cedric. Thank you so much, my man. Says, hey, could you rate my team 12-man half PPR redraft? Mahomes, Cook, Robinson, Hunt, Rojo, Julio, Juju, Boyd, Myers, Marvin, Gabriel Davis, Dallas Goedert, Johnny Smith. I love the content since you started. My man, thank you so much. I'll say I love seeing when you have Mahomes, that you're not rostering any other quarterbacks. That's 100% optimal. I'll say going over to tight end as well, just to make sure we have the roster construction down. I agree that rostering 2 tight ends when you wait to the tier to have Dallas Goedert, Jonnu Smith, probably the correct call here to just make sure that you're bringing in guys that we do perceive to each have upside, but at the same time, you're not investing that much into them, so you're not pouring too many resources into the position. Then at receiver, Julio, Juju, Boyd. Okay, so you're definitely weak at receiver, but you have a lot of depth. What I'm looking at here is like Ronald Jones on this team doesn't necessarily do anything for you, because Ronald Jones, you're more so drafting him for his floor. You're more so getting him as a running back that we know is going to have that role in his offense. I'll say I actually think that he's a very good start week 1 against the Dallas Cowboys. But I would potentially look to go through and trade away a Ronald Jones in a package with either just say, I don't even know, maybe I'm trying to figure out what wide receiver would be most appealing through trade. You want to keep Julio Jones on this team. If you could possibly trade away like Juju Smith-Schuster and the combination of Ronald Jones, and you could get the best receiver available in return. Like if you could get up to someone like a T. Higgins, I think that would be fantastic for this roster, to be completely honest. But outside of that, I love what you're doing at QB and tight end. Trevor comes out with the donation, says, what player/strategy would you use in a 2 PPR league with 2 running backs, 2 receivers, no tight end position, no flex? Okay, so there I'll say, honestly, I'm going to be grabbing 2 running backs at the very beginning. If you only can start 2 receivers, if it's 2 receiver max, you have to go through and you have to understand the landscape of the league. You're going to have so few players that you're actually having to worry about that I think that you're just completely fine just punting. So what I would probably do is, I don't want to say just completely overlook it, but don't consider wide receiver until like round 4 or 5. I'm probably drafting 3 running backs before I'm drafting a receiver. Those running backs, you want to make sure you're getting guys like Eckler, Saquon Barkley, Alvin Kamara. I mean, anybody that's going to get a lot of targets out of their backfield. Okay, now that we're back up on the clock, we need to look for a wide receiver that could be intriguing. Okay, so yeah, no, it's going to be more so at the top of the draft. Let's just get a DeMarcus Robinson here. Okay, so DeMarcus Robinson as our wide receiver 10. Then we're going to get 1 more running back or receiver in this draft. Possibly going to be a running back, but obviously we're looking at these players. None of them stand out that much. Justice Hill, season-ending injury. Darrington Evans on the short-term IR. Maybe we could bring in... No, we can't take... We literally... It doesn't matter that Mike Jones is there. We can... The 2 horse... Yeah, they draft Justice Hill. This team is dead. They take their 7th running back, and that wasn't an auto pick. They just don't know that Justice Hill's out for the season. They take Justice Hill right there. No, that team's dead as well. There were 4 dead teams in this draft. 4 teams that have no chance to win. That's $1,000 donated to the league pot. That is very, very surprising. I feel bad for them. At the same time, I'm kind of excited because obviously I'm in the $250 draft. We're trying to go for that league pot. But just some straight up punts here. My God. Okay, now let me pull this back over really quick. See if we have any other thing in the live chat. I believe we are good. And we're going to get another draft going after this, my dudes. So we're going to get a $10 draft. Okay, so Burgundy Bet says, Mason, send $10 on the link because you spent your money on Underdog. Yes, sir. I'll get a $10. I'll get a $10 draft going right after we make this pick. Well, we don't even need to see the last part of the draft. I mean, you don't need to see what happens after. Alex Collins getting drafted. Interesting in that Alex Collins is not someone getting drafted at all. So I guess maybe you make the argument that he has such a low ownership percentage. Like the thing is, like Mac Jones is just a ridiculous value in the 20th round. Like if we knew Mac Jones was available in the 20th, we probably were just going to go through and maybe just pass on like a Lamar Jackson to draft 3 quarterbacks in this team. Yeah, Mac Jones goes to the 2003. Okay, so is Jerick McKinnon still on the team, right? Just checking if Jerick McKinnon is still on the team. I think he is. If we're going to have a shot, you know what? Justin Jackson or Samaje Perine would actually be a lot more interesting because I think they're in the same exact range, yet there are very few teams are actually going to own them in this tournament. Yeah, so let's take Justin Jackson there. I know a lot of people aren't going to like that pick. We're more so doing it, trying to get a little unique and not necessarily having the same team over and over again. So I'm going to get a $10 draft set up, guys. We're going to send out this link in the live chat for anybody who signed up to Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK. And also, I mean, if you have not already, it's not too late. Make sure you go take advantage of that. Make sure you deposit $10, get $25 added to your account, and at the same time, go through and have the ability to get in drafts with us, get our rankings, get our draft guide, get everything in between. Okay, so let me grab this link. We'll send that out in the live chat. And also, we have some donations we can answer as we get this prepared. Okay, I just sent that link out there in the live chat. It's going to fill out in literally 1 second. 1 second. Okay, and someone talking about, y'all are right. I maybe should have gone with Le'Veon Bell. That was probably a good call. That's maybe what I should have done. Good point on that. So we just sent out that $10 link. It should be filled ASAP. Let me answer some questions really quick. Ashton says, 10-team full PPR, Tom Brady, CMC, Joe Mixon, DeAndre Hopkins, Robert Woods, Hawkinson, Myles Gaskin, Butler, Ramsey. We don't care about kicker defense. Okay, so from here, I'll say, love getting CMC Mixon on the same team. At this point, very similar to what I said in the last breakdown, what is Myles Gaskin relatively doing for you? A bunch of wide receivers that you're going to have the ability to just go through and pick up. They're going to be kind of the same that you're getting in that flex spot. So I'd actually probably prefer a receiver there instead of a Myles Gaskin. So if we could maybe package together Myles Gaskin and a TJ Hawkinson to instead get up to the elite tight end. If we could get to a Kittle, probably can't get to a Waller, definitely can't get to a Travis Kelce. But if you can make that trade over to a George Kittle, because what I advise everybody in a 10-team league, if you know you're going to have one of the better teams in the league, go pay up for a tight end, because tight end isn't necessarily something that you can find value later on in the draft with. That's going to be a position where we know who the elite guys are going to be right away. So just go pay up for it. I would definitely trade that because I think you have the assets to do so. And Demi says, rate team, 12-team, happy BR Superflex, Jalen Hurts, Godwin, DJ Chark, CMC, Eckler, Logan Thomas, Joe Burrow, benches, Lance, Curtis Samuel, Will Fuller. Okay, so honestly, I was not that excited about the team until we saw Trey Lance down there on the bench, because Lance is going to give you that elite upside. And even if you don't want to slide him into the starting lineup over a Jalen Hurts or a Joe Burrow, you could then go to look to trade him for an elite wide receiver 1 with a package of your other receivers once he is starting. So yeah, I really like that team, my man. I mean, Trey Lance is the piece in that team that I think makes it so intriguing, because you're going to be in a spot where you're just looking at so much trade value halfway through. Okay, so now let's get this going, and we are going to be in this draft with some new drafters as well. We got a lot of new drafters in here, which of course we're excited to see. Now at the 106, we're going to go a little bit different, even if we have Travis Kelce. Kelce doesn't fall to us. We weren't going to take him, however, just because we drafted Travis Kelce on so many builds. Let me look at how many drafts I've drafted Travis Kelce in. I may have to just add him onto our list because of our exposures, that we can no longer draft Travis Kelce. I think that may be a rule that we're making for us. Like in the $250 drafts, let me just look up how many of those drafts I've taken Kelce in. It has to be a ton. It has to be a ton. We've drafted him in, okay, never mind. Not as many as I thought. We have drafted him in 20% of the $250 drafts that we've done. We've drafted him in 20% of those. And then let me see the percentage of drafts that we've drafted Travis Kelce in that were not the $250 drafts. And instead, actually, no, I lied to y'all. We drafted him in 22.2%. Yeah, that just updated with the last draft. Let me see how many drafts we've drafted him in the non-$250 drafts. So this is the $5, the $25, the $50, the $100 drafts. We've done 175 of these. And we've drafted Travis Kelce in 13.5% of them. So if you combine all the buy-ins and you divide it by the entry fees that we actually have Travis Kelce, and we probably have Kelce in 25% of our buy-ins, which that's very overweight when you're playing in as many leagues as we are. Okay, so Eckler at the 112, and we're about to pass 34,000 subscribers in the live stream. Thank you everybody going down there and subscribing to the channel, my dudes. And this will probably be, if this goes fast, we'll probably get another draft going tonight. Just because y'all have dropped so many likes down there in the live stream, and it would be really awesome to hit 34,000 subs tonight. So maybe we can get another one going after this. No guarantees, but maybe we can. We get Calvin Ridley going at the 202. Sam says, how do you track the percentage of drafted players? Guys, if you're drafting on Underdog with us, the number one thing that I love, I say that about everything about Underdog. I just love so many factors about it. But with Underdog, what's so cool is if you go to the completed tab on Underdog Fantasy, from there you can see all of your old drafts. And if you click on exposure, you can see exactly the percentage of drafts you have drafted a certain player in. You can sort it by most drafted running backs, most drafted quarterbacks, most drafted flex players, most drafted, whatever you want. You can sort it by percentage. You can sort it by entry fees. So it's really, really cool. Go to completed and click your exposures. Now we're going to be pulling this back up. Yeah, we're going to start with Ezekiel Elliott and Nick Chubb. Let's start with Nick Chubb. And here we're not necessarily having to worry too much about the elite level upside of just going with a bunch of receivers early that we would find in the tournament style. Here we can just grab those running backs a little earlier because instead of having to go through and beat a ton of people to get $100,000, we're just trying to get the league pot between the 12 guys here. So yeah, let's get Zeke and Nick Chubb on this team. Now we have Metcalf falling to the 209. Very rarely are you getting DK Metcalf falling to the 209. I like it how we're seeing Darren Waller go earlier and earlier in these drafts though. Okay, so now after this, that wide receiver run happening, we're going to get a receiver that we like falling to us in the middle of the third regardless, to be honest. So we don't necessarily have to be too concerned about a guy that we like falling because we're going to get someone. We're going to get someone, guys. Okay, Kittle goes at the 301. Let's pull this back up. Now the question, okay, thank God. Caden takes Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I thought if we were going to have CEH falling to us, like what were we going to be doing at the 306? That would have been a tough spot if we were having to go Zeke, Chubb, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So I'm glad we actually have that pick. And now we're just going to be going with one of the receivers in McLaurin, A-Rob, Amari Cooper. A-Rob goes. It's what you kind of find. I mean, in the public drafts, I'm never drafting Terry McLaurin because people take him way before this. You actually see some teams take Terry McLaurin at like the 301 ahead of Keenan Allen. And a lot of people take him ahead of Allen Robinson. His ADP is ahead of Allen Robinson. But in drafts with everybody on Underdog Fantasy that are the subscribers of the channel, at that point, we are just seeing Terry McLaurin fall considerably because everybody has access to our rankings. Everybody has access to our draft guide. So, I mean, you do regularly see Terry McLaurin fall. However, we're going to get Amari Cooper at the 306. So we're going through and building in this Dallas Cowboys stack with Amari. Yeah, this is obviously a little bit of a unique team. A little bit of a unique team with both Zeke and Amari. We probably are going to be looking to get Dak Prescott now because at this point, I mean, this team is hinging all of its hopes on Dak Prescott's health and saying, well, Dak Prescott's going to be healthy all 17 weeks if this team has any shot at being competitive this upcoming season. So yeah, I think that we probably need to be going through and just drafting Dak Prescott in the 6th 100% of the time if he falls. I can't reach on him in the 5th because in the 5th we could have quarterbacks like Lamar Jackson, and even with the stack we can't decide to reach on a Dak Prescott like over a Lamar Jackson. However, if we get him falling to us in the 6th round, that would be fantastic. Okay, so we get Lockett at the 309. Godwin at the 310. David Montgomery. And guys, I want to give y'all a shout out real quick. Just everybody that comes out to these live streams and supports the channel, everybody subscribe to this channel. The video we uploaded earlier today, we uploaded this video 9 hours ago. It's going to be the best video that we have ever put on this channel in terms of the views that it's had. It's had over 20,000 views. I know it may not necessarily show that on YouTube, but on YouTube Studio, you see the exact real count on the view count. We get 20.3 thousand so far through 9 hours. That is 100% because of all y'all subscribe to the channel, coming to the premieres, dropping likes, leaving comments. Thank you so much, my dudes. Thank you so much. Okay, now let's go back over, pull up this live chat. Burgundy Bet says he just got Calvin Ridley at the 207. My man, I have not seen Calvin Ridley fall that far in a very long time. I mean, earlier in the offseason, even after you actually had the Julio Jones trade, you were still able to get like Calvin Ridley in this range. Now you never see Calvin Ridley making it past the 1-2 turn. Mahomes goes at the 312, so we're not considering that. Oh, do we? No, there are. Let's see what EB Nuggets. This is a new. Let me give some shout outs to the people in the draft real quick after we get our pickup because we see some new people out in this draft. He goes Evans at the 405. James Robinson. Thank God we get Brandon Ayuk. Let's bring in Brandon Ayuk. Should be healthy for week 1. Obviously, that gets you a lot more excited. Now we could look to get Trey Lance later on. So let's check out some names that we have not seen out in this draft before. We have TK Birdie. This is a new name to the stream. We have a regular here, regular here, regular here. Actually, no, this is a new name, I think. We have a regular, this guy, I hate seeing this guy fantasy flock in these drafts. I am so tired of it because every time I see him in here, I'm like, man, please stop wasting money on underdog fantasy. You have no idea what you're doing. You have no idea what you're doing. You're just punting away all this. I feel bad for the guy. I feel bad. We should probably sign a petition to get this guy to stop drafting because I don't know how he's wasting this much money. It's honestly kind of pathetic with how bad of a drafter he is, in my honest opinion. He should probably get off underdog fantasy. I'm going to probably start that petition sometime soon. But this is a new name in Kingview Mead. We got new name in EB Nuggets. JK Ooper. This is a regular SKR Rally. I think this is a new name. Uncle's Playhouse. This is definitely a new name. Pinball. This is a new name. We got a lot of new members out to the chat right now. So thank you so much, my dudes. Thank you so much for coming out. And we got Joseph out here. One of the members is out here in the chat. Happy to see you, my man. Casey says, yo, I'm late. Is this the last draft? We'll try to get another draft going, my man. I mean, we're about to hit 34,000 subs on the channel. So it's a special night. It's a special night. We'll try to get another one going after this. Okay, get Claypool at the 501. You know what? Let me count how many. Actually, I don't want to pull up my notes app on the computer right now. Let me count how many podcasts I have to. I'm recording podcasts like all night tonight. I may be staying up a lot because we had a lot of people join the Patreon wanting team breakdown. So I have a ridiculous amount of podcasts that I'm going to be recording later. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. We have 15 podcasts I need to break down. Maybe this is going to be the last draft because I'll probably need to get to some of those tonight. Now, Jerry Jeudy, Chase Claypool at receiver. At this point, I'm kind of fine going with the running back again. If we perceive them to be the best value, I'd probably be surprised if that's going to be something we decide to do, considering Miles Sanders did go at the 412. Okay, I mean, also, this is not a Kelsey team, so we could consider a tight end here. We could consider a tight end. Allen goes at the 505, so we're not going to take an elite quarterback here. Instead, I think the play is either to go with a receiver or to go with a tight end. So let's take a TJ Hawkinson. Yeah, let's take Hawkinson as our tight end. If we get Hawkinson, I am fine only rostering 2 of them. So we're going to get TJ Hawkinson at the 506. I wouldn't have done this earlier in the offseason when we have Irv Smith available to us, when we have Adam Chapman available to us later on. But the problem is with the injuries, I mean, it's a lot harder to draft Adam Chapman. Obviously, you can't draft Irv Smith. So I think there is a greater emphasis placed on getting that better tight end in the 5th round. So we are going to be taking a TJ Hawkinson there at the 506, even though if you pull up a draft from a month ago, we were definitely not making that selection. Jacob coming out says, yo, I'm Uncle's Playhouse. My man, happy to see you out in the live stream. I'm really happy. And also, Jacob, please let me know if this is like the first live stream you've seen. Let me know how many live streams you've seen, because I'm always very intrigued to know like the live stream demographics, like how many people out here, this is like the first time you're coming across the live stream, how many people, this is like one of the first few times, how many, I know there are a lot of people, like I can see some people out here in the chat, like JB Pats, we know that he's out here in these drafts all the time. Caden out here in these drafts all the time. Casey out here in these drafts all the time. I mean, Teresa out here in these drafts all the time. We know who the regulars are on this channel. We got Luke, James, Burgundy Betts. I'm sorry if I'm missing your name right now. I'm kind of scrolling through extremely fast. So, I mean, please let me know in the chat. Is this the first time anybody in here has found this channel with the live stream? If so, please let me know. So Jacob does go with 4 receivers in the first 5 rounds. He goes Diggs, Calvin Ridley, David Montgomery, Julio Jones, Odell Beckham Jr. And pinball. Taking our guy, Dak Prescott. So this is a big thing that I wanted to kind of hold off on saying until we were going to be back up in the middle of the 6th round. So a big reason why we decided to pass on Lamar Jackson here and grab TJ Hawkinson instead is I didn't want to take a Lamar Jackson, and we knew that ADP for Dak Prescott was right around this range, and we really wanted to get that stack in here with Amari Cooper and Ezekiel Elliott already making a bet on that Dallas Cowboys offense. So if this team's going to be any good, I mean, it's also going to mean Dak Prescott's going to have to be good at the same time. So I really wanted to target Dak in the 6th, and we couldn't do so if we got an elite quarterback in the 5th. So now that we pass on the elite quarterbacks and Dak Prescott goes, it was like a risk that we took, but honestly, it didn't work out. Kind of sucks. Okay, so receivers are getting soaked up. I think we're probably going to pick a running back here. Yeah, we're taking a running back. Let's see where Kingview decides to go. He has Robinson, Mike Davis, Tyreek Hill, Robert Woods, and Darren Waller. I wouldn't be surprised if he went Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown is someone I've drafted none of. Like, if Antonio Brown ends up blowing up this year when he's been going in the middle of the 6th round, like he's been going in the 6th round in almost all these drafts, I will be toast if Antonio Brown has a big season. So y'all know I've literally been saying for the past week, like since the J.K. Dobbins injury, I've been screaming that Gus Edwards been overdrafted in fantasy drafts. Now that we're getting him, I mean, like 17 picks behind his ADP. He's falling from the 4th to the middle of the 6th. Let's just take Gus Edwards here. I don't love the value. I understand that they are looking at Le'Veon Bell right now. That's not going to be massive for me changing where we have Gus Edwards because we already were drafting Gus Edwards knowing that he was going to be in a committee regardless. So Le'Veon Bell comes in. He's still in a committee. Doesn't change a lot for me. Just like when we were avoiding Darrell Henderson earlier on in the offseason, saying that they were going to bring someone in, whereas I was avoiding Darrell Henderson in the 4th round. Everybody remembers when Henderson was going in the 4th round. And we were avoiding him, knowing that they were bringing someone in. And all of a sudden, I'm kind of fine drafting Darrell Henderson in the end of the 6th, the beginning of the 7th, if he's falling there, because we were already baking it into his price. That's why I wasn't drafting him beforehand. So it's almost similar to a Gus Edwards, where, yeah, I mean, I hated the value when he was going in this range, but if he's going down here, sure, we'll take him. Neo says, I'm pissed. I can't smoke y'all on Underdog. Won't let me deposit in Arizona any way around it. I'll say, actually, Arizona, I think, is going to have Underdog available to them. If you look it up, let me look it up for you right now. But it should be in a couple weeks. Like, Underdog's going to Arizona in a couple weeks. Obviously, like with sports gambling and everything, you actually have like going state by state. So some states are a little more stringent than others. So Underdog is available in like 99%, not 99, probably like 94% of states. But Arizona is not one of them for the moment. Let me look this up. Arizona sports betting. Because I know someone was messaging me on Patreon. Yeah, okay, that's just more so a spam site. It's going to be very soon. It's very soon, my dude. Now, after we go Gus Edwards, we do get some more running backs off the board. We get Trey Sermon, Javonte Williams, Myles Gaskin. We have Jacob coming out with a donation, says, no, man, I found you last football season, but I'm getting back into it now. Going to be in these live streams steady. Now, my man, I'm happy to have you out. Thank you for joining us. Ryan says, my dude, thank you for being so great and putting out great fantasy content consistently. You are awesome, brother. No, man. I mean, guys, literally, I promise you, you do not need to thank me for coming out here and doing this. There's nothing in RP, nothing that I look forward to more than fantasy football and talking with y'all on live streams. Like, it's literally the best part of my day, and it's not even close. So don't feel the need to thank me. I have more fun than you would ever believe. Like, I promise you, out of everybody in this live chat right now, there's going to be nobody that gets half as much joy from NFL Sunday this first Sunday than I will. Like, y'all aren't going to come close to how excited I am going to be, because this is all I think about 24 hours a day. I mean, 7 days a week. So I love doing this. You do not need to go and thank me, because this is my life. Everything I live for. Just thank you for coming out, watching these live streams, supporting the channel on Patreon, using promo code on Flock, because y'all are the ones who allow me to go through and do this as a full-time job. I wouldn't be able to make as many videos or podcasts or live streams as I do if it wasn't for y'all supporting me. So I owe y'all the thank you, to be completely honest. Okay, so Pittman at the 709. At this point, honestly, we kind of want to see running backs going off. I know that we are in a spot where we only have 3 running backs through the first 7 rounds. Some people would be uncomfortable, but at this point, I'm trying to find receiver value. I want receivers. We can get quarterbacks a little later on, but we definitely need receivers on this team. Okay, so Raheem Mostert goes at the 712. Michael Gallup at the 801. And guys, I know y'all have all heard me say this a million times before, but if you have yet to use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy, Nothing helps this channel more, and it's not even close, than using promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy. If you can find that link in the description of the video, it's also in the live chat. It's also in the comment section. I mean, you can find it anywhere. And when you go through that link and use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy and make a $10 deposit, you get $25 added to your account. You get our 2021 Fantasy Football Draft Guide. You get our 2021 rankings and tiers. You support this channel. I mean, you get hundreds of pages of information, like an $80, $90 value, and then $25 added to your account. So like a $100 value for a $10 deposit, and it supports the channel more than you would ever believe. Like, please take advantage. Like, if you've ever enjoyed anything that I put out, help us out, guys. Help us out. We're trying to get 10,000 people to sign up on Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK, and Underdog Fantasy is going to do a giveaway flying people down to Tampa, Florida to go to a Tampa Bay Buccaneers game with me, and it'll be just a ton of fun. It'll be a ton of fun, and we have to hit that 10,000 signups. So we're going to take Mike Williams here. We need another receiver that's going to have a high average of the target, going to see a bunch of spike weeks. That's kind of what we're doing in the 7th and 6th rounds. I mean, I wasn't going to consider a running back there regardless, to be honest. So I think it's easy to go receiver with Sutton and Mike Williams. And Burgundy Bets says, watching Ole Miss cover the game, praying for some underdog exposure. Great night, Mason. Still scared, though. Okay, so watching Ole Miss cover this game. I'm going to be completely honest, my man. I didn't even know Ole Miss was playing. Let me look up the score. Okay, so they're going up against the Cardinals. What college football games are on today? Okay, was it just Ole Miss? I didn't even know they had college football today, my dude. I had no idea they had college football. Richard says, Flock tiers are golden. Killed my draft on that. Thank you, my dude. Thank you. Okay, Trey Lance at the 901. Jalen Hurts at the 902. Let's pull this back up in the middle of the 9th round. We do not want another running back here. I think we need to go with another receiver. Thomas isn't as intriguing because if you're new in these $10 drafts that we're doing just with 11 other people, it's not necessarily going through and trying to have the highest ceiling possible for the fantasy football playoffs. Instead, it's just who can score the most points throughout the entire season. What we're probably going to do here is actually grab a Tyler Higbee. If we get a Tyler Higbee and get him with a TJ Hawkinson, I think that we are going to be comfortable only drafting 2 tight ends on this build. We're fine at running back. I mean, running back's decent value with Melvin Gordon and Sony Michel. But personally, I don't want to be taking them. I don't want to be taking them here. And Michael says, drafted Lamar, Lance, and Fields in a superflex. Should I drop Fields for a quarterback to start week 1 or use a running back / wide receiver? Jimmy G, Wentz, and Dalton are all available. If Carson Wentz does start, what I would probably do is... Actually, that's a very tough question, my man. That's a very tough question. I think you roll with a receiver or a running back knowing that you most likely have either one of Justin Fields or Trey Lance starting by week 2 or 3. Yeah, that's a tough question. I think you just roll with it and don't make the drop. I mean, you're just losing out on so much upside because we know as soon as Justin Fields or Trey Lance, they take over the starter, they're going to be better than whatever Carson Wentz is giving you. And at the same time, they'll have way more trade value. So don't do that. Austin says, you introduced me to Underdog and I can't stop doing drafts. That's my problem, my man. I promise you, after this live stream, I'm probably going to go through and I'm going to be recording a bunch of podcasts for Patreon. But as I do all those Patreon podcasts, I'm going to be in Underdog drafts. So I'm going to get done with this live stream. And if y'all go over and y'all just do some of those puppy drafts on Underdog, you'll see me out there. You'll see me out there just grinding. Just because, I mean, it's the easiest thing ever when I go through. And if y'all don't know, guys, on Patreon, whenever you sign up to join the flock on Patreon, I actually do a personal podcast breaking down your team for 2021, talking about what I like about it, giving it a grade, talking about what I think it can do to improve. And as I do those, to be completely honest, you do not have my completely undivided attention because I sit there and I record probably those podcasts for 2 to 3 hours, probably more than that, probably 3 to 4 hours a day, especially when we're closing in and getting to the start of the season. So knowing that I'm having to record those 3 to 4 hours a day, I have to sit there and I have to do something on the background. So I'm also in an Underdog draft. LP says, can I play Underdog in New York City? Yes, Underdog, they're actually based in New York. They're based in Brooklyn. So yeah, you can 100% do Underdog in New York. Okay, so now let me switch this back over. Okay, so now we have these running backs going directly after us. We get our guy going into Zach Moss. I have Zach Moss in so many of these drafts. Like if I pull this up right now, I have Zach Moss in the non-$250 leagues. I have him in 17.5% of our drafts. And then in the $250 big dog drafts, I actually have him here in 33% of those drafts. That's tough. I've in 33%. So we're big on Zach Moss in those big dog drafts. Okay, Jamal Williams. Let's pull this up. Probably going to go with, I guess we could go with a quarterback. A receiver is a massive need for us. Let's see where Kingview Mead goes. He goes Marvin Jones. We would have taken Marvin Jones if he fell. However, on this team, let's just get a Matthew Stafford. Stafford and Tannehill are like neck and neck for us. But when we're taking a Stafford, we are at least getting a stack in here with a Tyler Higbee. It's such a small tiebreaker, but they're neck and neck regardless. So let's get a Matthew Stafford. And I also think when we take a quarterback in this range, we can feel comfortable only drafting 2 of them. So let me go through and show y'all the draft board so far. We are drafting here from the 106. Okay. And to be honest, guys, looking at the time and looking at how many podcasts I have to do today for Patreon, we're not going to get another draft going. I'm not going to be able to get another draft going. And also I'm about to piss myself, to be honest, as well. We may be cutting this stream short to go along with all of this. Jack CT says, how do I use your promo code on the site? The easiest way to use the promo code is just to make sure you're going through the link on the channel, whether that's in the comment section, in the description of the video, or on the live chat. When you go there, when you go to deposit $10, there'll be an option for first-time depositors to use promo code FLOCK. You just type in FLOCK, and if you go through that link on the channel, it should automatically already be typed in for you. You should see like, oh God, no, they already have it typed in, and that's perfect. So make sure you're going through the link, and it's only going to be for first-time depositors, of course. It's only for first-time depositors. Eric says, over 700 likes means we can't stop the stream yet. Another draft it is. That's why I am just looking at it and going, I really don't want to drop it. Okay, Kingview Mead says, hey, do you drink alcohol at all? I'll make a fantasy flock if you want. Kingview Mead. Is Kingview Mead? I'll say I drink alcohol. I'm not like a big drinker just because I work so much, to be honest. Like I literally work 14 hours a day, 7 days a week. Okay, Kingview Mead. This is a, we just looked it up right now. This is a cider and wine. If you could make a fantasy flock thing, like I said, I probably drink like, I would say maybe like twice a month. So I drink, but it's not like I am a big time drinker. But if you would make a fantasy flock drink, that would be like the coolest thing ever. Like I would love to put that on Instagram. I'd love to put that on Twitter. That would be awesome, my man. I don't know how we would go about that, but that would be really cool. That'd be really cool, my man. I didn't even know that was a possibility, to be honest. JB Pat says, any way you could look at my start? Yes, sir. Let me go through and let's look at this start for JB Pats. He drafted from the 102, so we're expecting to see Dalvin, then a bunch of receivers. Yeah, so we get Dalvin and a bunch of receivers. I think that's exactly kind of what you have to do. Dalvin, A.J. Brown, Keenan Allen, Jerry Jeudy, Juju Smith-Schuster, and then Kyle Pitts at the 411. Myles Gaskin at the 702. DJ Chark at the 811. Hurts, Kenyon Drake. Yeah, I think that's a solid team. I mean, JB Pats, I feel like I don't even need to look at your teams. Like, there are a couple teams that I don't even really like looking at. Like, yours, Caden's, I don't like looking at. I'd never like looking at Lank Dog's teams. Just, like, the regulars of this channel that I already know how y'all are building teams. 99% of the time I like it, and 99% of the time I can't find something to really look at for you. And Kingview Mead says, any mead, wine, or hard cider style? I don't know. Like, are you, like, okay, my man. I know I sound like the dumbest person ever, but keep in mind. It says, just choose what flavors you want, and I'll get it into Florida. Can you please send me like an email, a DM on either Twitter, Instagram, Discord, or an email? It's in the description of the channel. I don't want to embarrass myself and just showing off how little I know about that process or anything. I would love to talk to you about that. I'd be extremely interested. Thank you, my man. I really do appreciate that. I really do appreciate that. But I don't want to embarrass myself and try to talk about it right now because that would be, I I would literally just embarrass myself. Okay. And let me go through and grab a link. You know what, guys? Since I am legitimately about to pee myself, I'm probably going to have to make this pick here in the live stream. I apologize. This is our 4th draft of the night. We're going to be streaming tomorrow again, and I'm going to try to get a bunch of podcasts done tonight. I probably won't be going to bed until like 3 a.m. It's already midnight where I'm at. But we're going to be getting a ton of podcasts going. That way I can hopefully get 5 or 6 drafts going. Okay, Kingview says he will DM us or send us an email. Thank you. Thank you. So we're going to make a pick here where... Gosh, this is a bad team. This is a bad team. This is one of the worst teams we have maybe ever drafted, guys. Devin Singletary goes. We're literally done at quarterback, done at tight end. We can only go here. Let's take a Nelson Aguilar at receiver. And guys, I am very sorry we are having to end the live stream a little early. I blame it on my tiny bladder. But anyway, thank you all so much for coming out. I'm going to be getting out all those Patreon podcasts tomorrow. So if you sent me your team, I mean, you better believe that I'm probably going to be recording it right now tonight. And thank you all so much. I mean, did we hit 34,000 subscribers on the channel? I believe we are right there. Okay, we are 9 subscribers away from 34,000. So I'd imagine we probably hit that in about 5 minutes. So thank you so much for everybody who is subscribed to the channel. Thank you so much for everybody who supports this channel. You know, we're going to continue to live stream every single day. We're going to continue to pump out those videos every single day. We got 2 videos out today, 2 videos out yesterday, 2 live streams out as well. So we have 6 total things that you can watch over the past 2 days. So I shouldn't feel that bad about having to cut the stream a little early. Use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy. Nothing supports this channel more. You can find the link in the description. That's where we draft all the time. When you make a $10 deposit with promo code FLOCK, you get access to our 2021 rankings, our draft guide, our Dynasty Rookie Draft Guide. You get access to really, I mean, just everything. So please use promo code FLOCK. Helps us out. You get $25 added to your account at the same time. So you're getting paid money to do fantasy drafts while you support the channel. And thank you, my dudes, and have a great day.